Hello?
Hi, Vincent. How are you?
I'm good. Wait, 1 second. Let me just check something on here. I'm sorry that it took me so long because I was trying to connect to you talking on my phone and not my computer so that I can walk around. And
Hmm.
when you sent it to me in when you sent it to me in Hangouts, for some reason on my phone I couldn't get into my Hangouts or whatever, so I had to go to my computer and go to my Hangouts in my computer and then my to send it to my Facebook so I could open it in my phone, and then it was the internet was taking forever and everything
Hmm.
like that. But you know what? You stopped putting the chat and the link. I mean, the thing is, it's fun to put. I okay. So I'm on ban. Did you know I'm on ban?
You're banned on Facebook?
I'm banned on YouTube.
Oh dear, completely banned.
Not forever. I have one more chance and then I'm gone.
Right, you got two strikes. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? You got two strikes on your thing?
Huh? One more time?
You've got two strikes on your YouTube channel? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, I was. What did you just say? Like
You've
the
got
past
two
5 seconds?
strikes.
Yes.
You've got two strikes on your YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I have
Mhm.
2 strikes on my YouTube channel. Um, and it's because I let random people on, like the last time they used the N word. So
I know it was so funny because he was saying he used the N word and he said, please, don't you use the word, don't use that word. But he says, but I'm an N, I'm an N. Why can't I
I know,
use
but he
that
really
word?
wasn't. Did you keep listening? Did you keep listening later? He said that he was lying.
He sounded like an N person.
He did, but then he said he was lying. Then I don't know, but he was kind of crazy. So he says he's one of my followers and that he respects me. So, but you could see what kind of people follow me. I mean, you could see my follower, my followers are like people who don't really like me very much, to be honest with you.
Well, same
Um,
here. I mean, look at my comments. Look at the kind of comments I get. The hate watchers.
yeah, I know.
But I
The
think
yeah.
I get a higher class of hate watchers than you because I'm more discriminating. Or I don't
What do you mean more discriminating?
I don't know. I mean, it's like my subscribers don't exactly love me, but at least they don't say crazy things, or they don't say as crazy things as yours do.
Oh
But
yeah.
then maybe that's a measure of the superiority of my ideas.
Yes, maybe that is. But give me 1 second. Let me see something. Um, yeah, no, I'm like at the point that I'm just gonna think about not letting anyone on, and unless they're like,
Except me.
yeah, unless they're pre-screened and I have like guarantee that they're okay.
I listen to your streams and I think, when is it going to click, with Vincent, that, this guy's crazy and kick him off or something. But I don't know.
Well, I
Sometimes
mean, I don't
you
mind
want to
letting
let
some
things
people.
roll.
I don't mind letting on people who are a little crazy. I mean, he was. I mean, he. Again, all he really wanted to talk about was homosexuality, which is a recurring problem. Um, which is going to be a recurring problem for anyone who is. Whenever you're a homosexual male and you're in an environment where heterosexual men feel comfortable uh expressing I don't it's expressing their homophobia is not exactly what I'm trying to say, but I guess that's what I'm going to leave it at because I can't think of anything better. When they're in an environment where they feel comfortable expressing their homophobia, it will become the only thing that they will talk about. Um, and they will become hyper focused on your homosexuality and they just won't they won't give up the subject. I mean,
Mm.
they they will not give up the subject. It's just like this never ending obsession with homosexuality.
Hmm.
And he started falling into that a little bit. You know what I mean? Which I don't mind. Like I don't, I mean, I don't mind entertaining my audience. I know these types of things are entertaining.
Yeah, because I mean, they are genuine conversations, and I was listening to the guy. I mean, he was just saying, "Oh, I don't know how I just love women. I just love women. I could never do this thing, but I'm kind of interested." And you can tell that he's kind of interested.
Well, he
Oh, I
said he
thought it
tried
was.
it.
Yeah, he tried it, but he didn't like it, but he's still talking to you. So I guess he might. I've actually said, look, it's probably easier, if you're saying you have no money or whatever, then it's just gay sex is cheaper than trying to find yourself a woman. And at
Well,
least you won't get, and safer if you don't want a paternity suit, right?
right. It's safer if you don't want a paternity suit. In the age of birth, I know men don't want to wear condoms, but in the age of birth control, if women's on birth control, it's a little bit of a different story. The age of birth control did change things, but also, look, I'm.
The sound is not so good. I don't know what maybe is it because you're walking around?
Can you hear me now? I mean, is it working
It is
now?
sort of like you're underwater and bubbling.
Well, there was
But we can.
something. Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
It's still bubbling and kind of distorted,
Hold
but I
on.
can hear what you're saying, but it's
Well,
not
hold on.
good.
Let me go out of the studio and come back in.
I'm quite impressed with the variety of people in the comments.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, better,
Is
better.
it's better now?
Yeah.
Okay. What were we talking about?
I guess we were talking about this person who got you into trouble. Do you know that you can have more than one channel? Quite a lot of them in reserve, i- using
I'm
just
doing that. That's what I'm doing. I'm creating another channel and I'm gonna have a backup channel, and that's what I'm gonna start doing. And I'm gonna start getting everyone over to my backup channel because I'm scared that there's something already up there that somebody's gonna find, and then I'll get banned and totally banned, and I won't have time to like build my audience on my other channel. So I'm gonna start doing that. And
I've learned how to stream on Odyssey, so I suppose you could go there.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Does StreamYard lets you stream on Odyssey?
Yes, yes.
And does it allow you to stream on Odyssey and YouTube at the same time?
Yeah.
Does it allow you to stream to two YouTube accounts at the same time?
Yeah. All you have to do is ask John Gisheler. He knows all about that, but you don't like him for some reason.
And oh my God, I'm gonna play it when I come back. I have a series of stuff I want to play. John Gishla's friend, James the Idol Smasher, was a total fucking asshole to me. So he was having a show and it was open link, anyone could go in and talk to them. And people go in there all the time. Christians go in there and challenge them. And, they have lively debates and all this other kind of stuff. And so I go in there and I explain myself and I'm like, yeah, I spend a lot of time fighting the Noahide laws, and I'm a really big advocate of repealing these proclamations in the United States, and blah 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 blah. And he's like, well, what are you doing here? I was unwelcome.
Mhm.
Um, which it's not usually what he's like with Christians that go in there to debate them. They're not usually so dismissive and like, well, get out of here. So I thought it was a little bit odd. And so we had like a long conversation. Okay, it was barely tense. There was no yelling. There was no like insults. It was heated debate. I wasn't being disrespectful or anything like that. And so the thing comes to a conclusion and it's all ending. And he's like, so it's all ending. And I go, well, it was nice talking. And he's like, yeah, yeah, right, it was. He's like, fuck you, pagan. Fuck you and your nature gods. Fuck you. And then he threw me off the stream. Like, that's just like how he ended it. Just like, and then I went back and then I was listening and he was saying that I was like, I don't know what he was saying. He was just like making up some bullshit about why he threw me off the stream. And then he started accentuating I was like, wow. When he was like, fuck you, I was like, wow. And then he starts like accentuating in a homosexual accent. He's like, oh, wow, wow, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Like being
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
total fucking asshole. And yeah, I mean, birds of a
So
feather.
was this guy? What religion was this guy supposed to be? Who was? What was his name again?
James the Idol Smasher.
Okay, so was he supposed to be a Jew or what?
He was a Noahide.
Okay, okay. Well, I guess he would be expected to take against you.
Well, yeah, but he takes against Christians too, and he doesn't act like that towards Christians. Well, he's nasty. Well, he's nasty about Christianity.
Hmm, hmm.
He's nasty about it. I mean, I've seen him talk about Christianity, and he's nasty. And that's the other thing that he's like, oh, we don't get nasty with other people. I'm like, yeah, you do. I mean, I was like, I watch your videos all the time,
Hmm.
and you know what I mean, like. Oh my God, yeah, you would be happy. I mean, I just covered it the other day where I'm doing a book review on this Noahide book called The Rainbow Covenant by Michael Dallin.
Hmm.
And he called Christianity idolatry and blasphemy.
Send me the link, please.
Yeah, I will. He called it idolatry and blasphemy.
Great.
Yes. Yeah. Um, apparently Rabbi Schneer, I don't, a lot of these rabbis or a lot of these, they play this game where they say both sides and then they can just quote whatever side they want. So I okay, I have the evidence that Rabbi Schneerson called Christianity idolatry.
Hmm.
But then I'm pretty sure I don't have the evidence. I have to go look for it actually. I have to see. Um, he also said Christianity is not idolatry.
They're a bit confused. They say things like these rabbis say things like, "Oh, Christianity is okay for Christians." It's like, it's a tautology, isn't it? You're kind of not really saying what you
Well,
mean.
the Shatuf, no, okay, Shatuf. Okay, so the only way that Christianity would be acceptable for Gentiles, but not Jews, but for Gentiles is under Shatuf. So, like, Shatuf is basically saying you're monotheist, but you have like there's a polytheistic aspect to your worship. And
Yeah,
and
you're monotheist by a technicality, kind of thing, right? Because the
ooh,
Trinity is technically a unit of one, but consisting of three. It's kind of.
yeah, and you're using a mediator, right?
But Islam is really quite clear. It's like associating partners with God is the most terrible thing. And then some rabbis say, yeah, actually, shatuf is worse than idolatry. Because I suppose, and it makes sense. It's like if God exists, you know, he'd probably be a bit more indulgent with the Hindus. It's like, well, they didn't know. It just we kind of know it's natural for these people who like to worship material things. But the Christians, it's like they ought to know better because they've incorporated the Torah into their Bible, and they still don't know that idolatry is blasphemy. And why didn't the Jews that I made got my chosen people? Why didn't they tell them? And why didn't the Muslims tell them? Because there's a verse in the Quran that tells them, it actually says, admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son. So, the Muslims have been disobeying God, maybe.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say quickly is that it's debatable. Like you just said, some rabbis say it's worse to practice shituf, and but yeah, it's debatable whether shituf is even permissible. The people at Ask Noah, which is a really big, prominent, mainstream Noahide organization, do not believe that shituf is permissible for Gentiles.
No, because God would be more offended that you've been worshipping Him as and as as Jesus, who was convicted of blaspheming against God. So you're worshiping somebody who blasphemed against God, which is the Christian narrative. I mean, that was why Jesus was crucified, because the Sanhedrin convicted him of blasphemy. So it's sort of even more deliberate. It's like, what can we do to offend God? Oh, we know, we're going to worship somebody that blasphemed against God as God. And what else can we do? We're going to say that his mum is the mum of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God, that Catholic thing, that Catholic hymn that they still sing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so so if God exists, he'd be plenty mad with Christians, and also disappointed with Jews for not pointing at doing the Noahide law thing. Because my position is that okay, let's assume that God loves us all, and he's trying to improve our lives, and he made Jews his chosen people, but in order to serve humanity, and they sort of know that they're supposed to serve humanity, and but they won't do the thing because they say, oh, but these Christians will kill us if we tell them that their religion is idolatry and blasphemy. But I'm glad they're choosing to do that a bit more now, because with the First Amendment, you know, well, their rights, the right to say that is protected in
Well,
America.
yeah, they're going to start doing it more and more and more and more. I mean, this is only going to become more outspoken. I mean, so I've been reporting on this for 10 years. So back when I first started, well, I mean, some of this material is older than when I first started. So, um, well, what I will say is this, at least there's a lot more chatter going on everywhere about these than there was 10 years ago. So, in the next 10 years, it's probably going to become mainstream knowledge, these things.
Mm.
And as it becomes more mainstream knowledge, um, you're going to start hearing a lot more debates about whether or not Christianity is idolatry in public. And um,
It takes place in Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. Every Sunday now. In previous years it was usually capitalism and communism, and now it's Christianity and Islam, and occasionally a few Jews would go and talk about it too. But and I think because of the media is so micromanaged, that I think Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park actually reflects the genuine concerns of people. because if that's what people want to talk about, their, give up their Sundays just to go there and yak to strangers about politics and religion, then it's obviously on their minds, and you don't really, and okay, there's also a kind of feminist stall, but it's mostly sort of feminism, Islam, Christianity, and in high part. There are hardly any, communists. I mean, when lockdown, there were people protesting about lockdown, but you know, the discourse is theological. You don't have the equivalent of this in New York or anything, do you?
Well, yeah, people like there's protests and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's Union Square in New York City where
Hmm.
everyone goes to do their demonstrations or to set up a booth or do whatever. But that's Union Square.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it is going to become a lot more theological. Especially now Islam's here and they're going to bring up the question of the Trinity and um yeah, Islam is here and is going to bring up the question of the Trinity, and but this is going to start seeping into this question is going to start becoming bigger, and yeah, more rabbis are going to come out and talk about it,
Hmm.
and now look, um, at first there is going to be conflict, but I'm going to tell you right now, the conflict is going to be a lot less than you would expect.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
you you are betting on the fact that the world is going to hear this message and be like, well, we don't want this. We'd rather something a little bit lighter, like secular Quranism, where, well, we kind of believe in like 4 out of 7 of these laws, or 5 out of 7 of these laws should be implemented. So
well, I'm gonna just appeal to their, innate skepticism about using Jews as consultants. It's like, why are you putting yourselves under Jews? Because
no, you're doing more
we
than that. You're doing more than that. You're removing 2 of the laws. You're removing 2 of them.
Yeah, because you have to, because otherwise you'll just end up with, forcing everybody to believe in your religion, which is what caused the convulsions of the Western world. Since the Reformation, people have been, well, trying to reform Christianity, and it's not capable of being reformed because it expects, Westerners to believe in an absurdity, and then it changes its mind. Like, okay, today I discovered that, okay, you've heard of the Edict of Thessalonica in 380, haven't you?
No.
Well, it was issued by 3 Roman emperors to say that, we're going to be Trinitarians from now on. Trinitarianism is going to be the religion of Imperial Rome. And we know about Constantine, who died in 337, and history talks about a Constantinian shift, because really Constantine was more an Arian, and so was his son. So, you know, people thought they were going to be Aryan because it was kind of more believable in a way. And I know you disagree with me, but I think Jehovah's Witnesses are the latter day
No,
Aryan.
I've read I went in and I researched that I've seen they reject that assertion and they have their reasons, and I read the reason. I cannot remember what their reasoning is.
Yeah, I know it's something complicated like that, but Aryans were kind of the thing for a while because the emperors were Aryans, and then something happened. I'm not actually. I need to read up on that, and then from 380, there was the Constantinian shift. Completed itself or something, and anyway, it was then that the Romans started persecuting non-Trinitarians, but they had
They
begun.
persecuted them?
Yes, that was what the Edict of Thessalonica was about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, in that stream I'm not surprised that the royalty went with Arianism. Um, Look, it's if you're going to take the Torah and you're going to make that the foundation of your religion, okay, I would prefer, okay, like if I had to choose between Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, I would choose Christianity because it's the most pagan. Um, why did I bring this up? I would choose Christianity because it is the most pagan. But the thing is that if you take the Torah and you take the Torah seriously, and I think that you are intellectually honest, I think, yeah, Arianism would probably be a better choice if you wanted to be true to Torah. Um, you know, yeah, if you
Well,
wanted to do,
I think it's actually more believable, Arianism, because I had a discussion with somebody. Uh, well, he was a British nationalist, and I said, I'm sure you don't believe that Jesus is God, and then he kind of pretended that he was an Aryan, so it didn't sound so stupid and crazy, right? So Arianism was sort of kind of like, yeah, God exists, but Jesus is a bit divine, but he's certainly not the co-equal of God, you know.
well,
So
yeah, I mean, I don't know how they explain it. The way Jehovah's Witnesses explain it, which is not a problem and doesn't fall into idolatry, is that God gave created it like any other angel created an angel. Now, in the Old Testament, we know that the angels could take human form because they came down as men and they spoke to was it Abraham who when they went in to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever, or and the angels went into the city and the men tried to rape them and stuff like that.
that was Lot, I think.
Lot,
But
Lot,
Abraham bargained with God, saying, don't
yes.
kill them, and you know,
Yeah,
but it,
so angels could come down and in human form. God does not do that, but angels could. So since Jesus was an angel, he was able to come down in human form. But when he was in human form, he was just a man because the thing is the way if I'm understanding it correctly, he was just a man because we're in the situation that we're in because Adam failed and Adam was just a man. So you need to have a sacrifice that is equal. So like the idea is if Jesus came down and he was divine and everything like that, um it would be he wouldn't understand what it was to have human frailties and human temptations. He needed to be a human being in order to strive through all that and still maintain being a perfect human being. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, which it okay, but this is all stupid because then he had divine powers and could heal people. And like, how do you explain that? This is what the whole thing is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, the
Even if
thing is, it didn't even matter. It's just that you have to believe in it because it's a king's religion, which is why the American Revolution is such an important point in Western history. But its significance is still lost to so many Americans. It's like they had a rule in Europe that if you're the subject of your king and your king has whatever religion it is, you have to follow it. You have no freedom of belief. The only people that were allowed freedom of belief living in your country were the Jews, because and they were given that right because they were the senior branch of the Abrahamic religion. And
yeah,
maybe
bad
that was the reason
idea.
why they were always hated. It's like, how come you got to, you can have your own religion, but we can't, you know? And they haven't talked about it because there's a lot of stuff that is still going on, particularly in Britain, which is still a monarchy, and they're still doing all the anointing of the king stuff, which goes back to, well, the Old Testament. You have to anoint your king. I mean, that's what frankincense, frankincense and myrrh was about, anointing, um, well, kings and stuff. But you see, this is something that I don't think a lot of Europeans get. So the American Revolution was basically the founding fathers saying, "Well, fuck this, we're not going to be subjects of a king forced to believe in whatever his stupid religion is. We're not having it anymore, and we Americans will protect this right." And of course, once that was established, the Europeans wanted it too. And then you had the French Revolution, and then they still tried to keep the lid on things. And then there was a Russian Revolution, and now, here we are. And it still hasn't been sorted because Western man doesn't have a proper religion that he really believes in. But they've tried all their secular, political ideologies. They've tried, liberalism for 250 years in the West, and they tried communism, but it's crashed and burned. And it seems only the Chinese can keep doing communism,
Well,
because
not
the
pure
Soviets gave it
communism.
up.
I know, but they're so mixed with capitalism. It's not funny.
Yeah, but
They're sustaining
they
themselves
managed to
because
stay around long enough to innovate. Maybe this whole thing about if the Russians weren't white, they might have not have been so easily influenced by Reagan coming round to say, oh, follow our way. We're so wonderful and rich and cool and American and democratic. And the moment the Russians said, okay, we'll just do your democracy since it seems to work so well for you, that was the beginning of the end for them. But at least the Chinese thought, well, it's not our way. We've never tried it. We don't, it's your white Western thing. It's not for us. So actually, I think they stuck with their National Socialism, because that was what National Socialism was. It was, this idea that you're going to have a one-party state, which isn't confined only to Nazis or fascists or commies, but actually one of the ideas of well, George Washington disapproved of political parties. I don't know if you read his speech, but anyway, it's on
yeah, I
record.
know they didn't want political parties, but I mean, I think that that's unrealistic to not want political parties. I mean, because people are going to congregate around candidates. I mean, even if you didn't have political parties, you would still have candidates where people would congregate around the candidate that they wanted because they were speaking the lingo that they liked. So political
Yeah, you
parties,
can do all that, but you can have, shifting factions, which is fine, because, we could be in the same political party and on one, policy issue we might oppose each other, but on another policy issue we might agree with each other. But it doesn't have to be, set in stone so that we're definitely in different tribes and fighting each other over, well, nothing at all. So that was the dangerous, unnecessary divisions that Washington foresaw would divide America, which it has. But I mean, in China, they actually do have political. I mean, they're probably lobbying groups or whatever. But they say yeah, you can be a political, call yourself whatever you want, because obviously certain sections of society might want representation. Be they I don't know, tenant farmers or professionals or whatever business or organization they are. So they're kind of because the Chinese Communist Party wants to make a point of consulting the people it governs, it allows them. But obviously the CCP is the ultimate authority. But I mean, they kind of they do make a point of consultation. And but there was a strange time when they made songs in English praising the Chinese Communist Party, which was a bit of a puzzle to people. But I think
what do you mean
I
in
think the
England?
yeah, I'll find you um, that song, which I thought was quite catchy, and it was actually mentioned. Um, I can play it for you if I can find it. Um, yeah, and it was sort of what's a word? Um, quite catchy and made to appeal to the Westerner. But now, of course, I can't find that catchy song. I think. It was sung in an American accent, kind of as if it was trying to get Westerners to say, well, why don't you do things our way and become a one-party state because it's not so bad and blah blah blah. Okay, so I think I found it, and I will play it. Okay. Have you got it yet? Sorry, I'm making it. I'm not doing it properly. Okay, I'll try again. Right.
Hey, have you guys heard what's going on in China?
President Xi Jinping's new style?
Yes, and there's more.
The Shisanu. The what?
China's 13th five-year plan. Yeah, the Shisanu.
Oh.
Every 5 years in China, man, they make a new development plan. The time has come for number 13. Shisanu, that's what it means.
It's a huge deal. Like how huge?
Huge.
Like China huge?
Yeah, China huge.
Oh, that's really big.
If you wanna know what China's gonna do, let's pay attention to the Shisanu. The Shisanu. The Shisanu.
The Shisanu what?
The Shisanu.
But who makes all the plans?
There's government ministers and think tank minds and party leadership contributing fines. There's doctors, bankers, and farmers too, and even engineers who deal with poo.
Ew, did I hear that right?
Yeah, it's true. Chorus.
If you wanna know what China's gonna do, let's pay attention to the Shisanu. The Shisanu. The Shisanu.
The Shisanu what?
The Shisanu.
But how do they make all the plans?
First there's research views collected, then discussion and views projected. Reports get written and passed around.
Then there's actually more research and more discussion and more research and more discussion. Like at every level. Over and over, like through hundreds of rounds. It's
Okay, we got it. Hundreds of rounds. Oh my god.
crazy, right?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
If you wanna know what China's gonna do, let's pay attention to the Shisanu. The Shisanu. The Shisanu.
The Shisan what?
The Shisanu.
But it's not over yet. When the plan comes out, the work's not done. In fact, it's really just begun. Because every province, county, city, too, have got to figure out what they're gonna do. Whoa.
That's a lot to do.
I know.
Hey, what's it called again?
The
If you
Shisanu.
wanna know what China's gonna do, let's pay attention to the Shisanu. The Shisanu. The Shisanu.
The Shisan what?
The Shisanu.
Then the plans keep getting even better. As the plan goes down from high to low, the government's experience continues to grow. They have to work hard and deliberate, because a billion lives are all at stake.
Like every job.
前孙李周吴郑王冯钱楚魏蒋沈
Chorus!
If you wanna know what China's gonna do, let's pay attention to the Shisanu. The Shisanu. The Shisanu. Everybody's talking about the Shisanu.
So that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, now it's time to get ready for the 14th five-year plan.
What?
Yeah, the Shisu.
The Shisu what?
Wait, who made this?
It came from China. It's weird, isn't it? I'll
The
give you
Chinese
link.
Communist Party made that.
Yeah. And it's like, well, why did they do it in American, and I mean, I can only think that, well, maybe these Americans need a bit of help with their government. We'll try and give them a few pointers about how to govern their country better because they're going astray.
I wonder who they hired to do that for them.
And there are lots of, Westerners in China now, You just, if you ever listen to CGTN, it's like loads of China experts just sort of gagging to give their opinion about, stuff in China. So they would be mostly Westerners, it's like they try to, they try to be, give a balanced view of, American US policy and, whatever. And some of them have kind of gone native. It's like, oh, this is so wonderful. I'm staying here forever, But there's also another song, another cartoon thing, which is about Obama and David Cameron and saying, oh, the Western, this political system is messed up because of the way they choose their political.
Claire, you're breaking up a little bit.
All right. So I'll find the other song, which makes fun of the Western political system. I'll find it, hopefully, if I can remember the search words. Cartoon Chinese. Oh, he's a leader, yes.
I mean, is there lots of support for the Communist Chinese Party, or is there lots of dissent?
It says, it uses Western, surveys and stuff to check if their policies are working. So this one's about 5.5 minutes. Shall I play it for?
Yeah.
In case you, okay. It's a cartoon.
When I grow up, I want to be the president. This is the dream of many kids around the world. However, the path towards achieving this dream can be vastly different from country to country. Anyone born on American soil, have lived in the States for more than 14 years, and are now over 35 years old, then you can run for U.S. president. Sounds easy, but pulling it off is a super complex business. You need to first set up a team and choose your running mate, then deliver speeches, fight through debates, and raise funds wherever you can, and beat all your opponents to finally sit in the Oval Office. The whole deal lasts for over 1 year. Without a glib tongue, extraordinary stamina, and most importantly, an unending flow of greenbacks, no one can ever pull through it. The two candidates in the 2012 U.S. presidential election spent $2.04 billion US. Alas, becoming a political hero is definitely far more difficult than becoming an American Idol. Want to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? Well, first you need to go through trials and tribulations to take leadership of your party, and then double your efforts for a majority in the House of Commons. Prime Ministership is yours. That chance is way narrower than what Susan Boyle had at winning Britain's Got Talent. How then does one win the presidency in China? To begin with, you also must get to the top of the governing party. But here we're talking about a party of more than 85 million members. To qualify for top leadership, you need to go through decades of selections and tests. The membership of the gigantic party is a first pass. You could be a college student, or a factory hand, or a technician, a journalist, a teacher. Anyways, you must be excellent at what you do. Various trials and tests lie ahead to determine whether you have it in you to lead. In China, officials are ranked in a hierarchy. Typically, one starts at the primary level and then is promoted successively to township section, county division, department bureau, and province ministry levels. Among China's 7 million officials, only 1 out of every 140,000 makes this far, and it takes more than 20 years. Take Xi Jinping, president of China. He started at a primary level office, one similar to community councils in the West. Later, he was promoted to run a county, then a city, and then different provinces like Fujian and Zhejiang and Shanghai. He went on to become the VP and finally the party general secretary and the president. He experienced 16 major job transfers and governed an accumulative population of over 150 million over 40 plus years. The other 6 members of China's new top leadership team, the Politburo Standing Committee, elected by the CPC Congress in 2012, have traveled a similar journey, one step at a time. All the places where the 7 members have served add up to half of China's territory, including major municipalities and provinces with population, GDP, and comprehensive development level of a mid-sized country. In this system, before a party member could take over the helm of China, he would have sailed through all kinds of rapids and shoals. More important, he would have participated in the deliberation and formulation of many major strategies and policies. That is why, over the decades, through several leadership transitions, China has managed to keep its policies generally consistent and worked along one national development strategy. This is one of the secrets of the China miracle. To counter problems like environmental degradation and statistical frauds in recent years due to excessive pursuit of GDP, the evaluation criteria for officials have also been duly modified to include items such as energy and resource efficiency, social security, and cultural development. To the end of each year, officials face a thorough performance review where they are gauged with more than 40 different yardsticks. Besides, their performance is also subject to a vote of approval by the rank and file under their administration and all kinds of supervision. Today, the 538 million netizens of China show no mercy to officials with misconducts. Many roads lead to national leadership, and every country has one for itself, whether by a single ballot that gets the whole nation out to vote, or by a meritocratic screening that requires years of hard work like the making of a kung fu master. As long as the people are satisfied and the country develops and progresses as a result, it's working.
So that was more Chinese propaganda.
Mhm. Well, it's
That was from
basically true how they do it. You know, that's the career path of somebody in the Chinese Communist Party if they reach the, you know, to reach the highest, position in China.
right. Um, yeah, I know, but I mean, it kind of,
It's a bit radical, I know. No, but it's not something that isn't in George Washington's farewell speech. And what does, what's the phrase? Ever more perfect union? Doesn't that mean a unitary state?
I'm
Like
not
China?
sure.
Well, it's open to interpretation, I suppose.
Well, is the one party actually legally enforced in China, or is it just socially enforced where, like, nobody dares vote for anything but the CCP?
I think it was a one-party state because, okay, the whole hierarchy of the Chinese Communist Party is borrowed from the Soviets. So they have, the terms like, Central Committee, Politburo Standing Committee, all these terms. Well, it came from the Soviet system. So they basically, took their model from the Soviets, and the Russians have now abandoned it. I think Russia will become a one-party state, just because, Dugin, if you follow what he says, is so intent on rejecting everything that is liberal and Western. I mean, he even rejects nationalism, saying, the nationalism of the West is racist, and he didn't want anything to do with it. And yeah, he's basically racialized the conflict between Russia and NATO. And he talks in terms of Anglo-Saxons and Slavs. And saying Slavs are the sensible, socially conservative people, while, Anglo-Saxons are gay, degenerate, and, a bit crazy now.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this whole thing. I know a lot of people have their okay, the people who support Russia in this whole Ukraine-Russia conflict, they're these right-wing, they're supporting Russia because they don't like globo homo, not because what Russia is doing is okay. The thing is, Russia is protecting itself from what exactly? Okay, the West, let's say that America, let's say NATO went into Ukraine and put in weapons in Ukraine. Okay, let's just say that we did that. What exactly is Russia going to do that would aggravate NATO to the point that they would actually launch those weapons? What is Russia planning to do that would create a NATO war? Obviously, they want to reject all of this Westernism. I support Ukraine because Ukraine and the West represents gay rights and women's rights and advancement and progress in science and breaking tradition and things like that. So whereas I see Russia as homophobic, wanting to return to tradition, the Orthodox Church, just backwardness, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I support Ukraine for that reason, but I mean, really the only reason to support Russia is because you want basically because you want Russia to be a powerhouse of anti-global homo.
Well, yes, I think so, because this was years ago, but there was this gay radio presenter who was attached to the Conservative Party. But anyway, he was complaining about, he had a radio show, and all these sort of working class Brits were saying, "Oh, isn't Putin wonderful? We love him." And he was getting more and more annoyed at these, working class Britons who thought Putin was wonderful, that he actually complained about it. And I think his appeal, not just to Britons, was that, well, at least you can see, even though you're not Russian, why Putin is doing what he's doing, and aren't the Russians lucky to have a leader that actually does something that is obviously in the national interest of the country he's governing? Well, compared to us, it's like all our Western, our leaders are just doing crazy, stupid things that make no sense at all, and is obviously not in the interest of their country. And I don't know how true it is, but I heard Joel Davis and Richard Spencer talking, and I think they were supposed to be talking about Western identity, and they ended up talking about neocon policy, and what Richard Spencer was saying was wow, these crazy Americans actually saying that they want to be nuked by Russia, which may or may not be an exaggeration, but I mean, if it's true, even said in jest, suggests that that the average American hates himself.
Well, all these right wing, these old, I, I do not know what to call these people. They don't like to be called anything. Alt right, fascist, white nationalist. Okay, like there has to be some catch-all term to use to describe these people, but they reject every single one of them. So whatever, the alt right. Um, yeah, they want Russia to win.
Because they at least see that Russia has a leader that is governing in the Russian national interest, which means that all Western countries want their own leaders to govern in the national interest, and they don't want to think that their leaders are crazy anymore, crazy or evil. They
Wait,
just
who's white Muslim woman who's here now?
This is Carol. Carol meet Vincent. Vincent meet Carol.
Hi,
Hey,
Carol.
hi, Vincent. How are you?
Wait,
Hi,
is Carol
Claire.
the one? Is Carol the one that is spreading secular Quranism?
Carol seems quite supportive, and I must thank her for that.
It's a
Wait,
great idea.
are
Yeah.
you Muslim?
Oh, yeah, sure, sure.
Okay,
sure.
so wait, wait, do you believe? So you believe in Sharia?
I believe that Sharia, if it is put through the cultural lens of white people, can be a huge force in cleaning up society and making these countries, back to the same level of respect and stuff they used to have. I
Okay.
guess is one way to say it.
Do you believe Sharia should ban idolatry?
Well, what would that look like? How do you mean ban it? What are you talking about banning it?
Well, I mean, would people be allowed to practice idolatry? So if I was a Hindu and I wanted to worship an idol inside a Sharia state in the West, would I be allowed to do that?
Not one that was set up by the immigrant Muslims, I don't think, because what they're promoting isn't quite the view I have, or it's not the view that I think Western Europeans should have, and I don't think it's even really the view of Islam, to be honest. But I think what people personally believe in stuff, that's up to them. I don't. Well, how would you stop somebody from worshiping an idol anyway?
Well, they do that, and they do that in certain countries. I mean, they stop them from building churches or whatever,
Well,
or
I don't know. I go to Muslim countries. I see churches at them. I
oh,
see
well, I mean,
churches in
okay,
them.
well then there's blasphemy. So there are Muslim countries that have
But
blasphemy
yeah,
laws.
well, they have these kind of laws. Yeah, they do have these kind of laws. But we're talking about the general laws of Islam and what's being promoted by them. Do you understand? Like, what does a law of blasphemy mean? Not, what does that really mean? I mean, there has to be some examination of this. But I'm not proposing some watered down progressive type of Islam that looks like, the ridiculous. I'm seeing the ridiculous on both sides.
Well,
So
wait? So you did meant do you believe blasphemy should be outlawed?
blasphemy about God?
Yeah, like I mean, burning Qurans, saying "fuck Allah," and blasphemy.
Well, it's probably a progression in people's thought. Do I think blasphemy should be outlawed in a culture where people think they should be able to express themselves publicly in gross, sort of destructive ways? I guess it determines how far the blasphemy goes. But I do not believe in like what I seeing in Canada, this hate speech stuff. I don't believe in enforcing anything that looks like that. Okay, I
Okay,
think we could. We're basically. I'm seeing Islam as a way to build a better white man. Okay, we're gonna get some of this white culture back, take over our country's, take over the country's moral behaviors that created a better country. Not this stuff, and I considered it all imported thinking. Mostly, I see it not in the sense I'm
Well,
blaming
the
everything.
person who has imported thinking is you, because I mean, you're okay. You're going to Islam because, well, it's easier for you to get to Islam because did you start out as Christian?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so what you really miss is old Christianity, and you wish that the white man acted like old Christians, but you don't think that's possible anymore. So you're saying, well, use Islam to get back to where you were.
Impossible for white men to get back there um, without Islam. I don't think that. I just want to see a different. Okay, how would you do it? That's the question. What is the proposal to get people to be behaving like how my father did? Okay, because Islamic values totally match the behavior of my father, and he wasn't a Muslim. Do you understand what I'm saying? His manners, his thought processes, these white thought processes. You're going to protect your family. You're going to take care of your family no matter what's happening. You're going to suffer through it. You're going to get with one woman, stay with one, make some babies, stay loyal to all this, even if it looks like it's all starting to go to hell and it's not fun anymore. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, a revival of that in the white man. And I see the rules of Islam as a way for them to regain that because so many haven't even seen this type of behavior today. I want to see this behavior come back as the norm of society in the West. It's hard for, I think, younger people or people to understand even what I'm talking about because they haven't seen it. Maybe when they went to school, half the kids there didn't have married parents or
Well, because people were very unhappy like that and it broke down. Whenever, this is what I tell Claire, whenever you enforce a way of life on people that okay, people naturally do not want to practice monogamy their whole life. Okay, people naturally want to stray. It's just natural. It's like it's an impulse. It happens to almost everyone. There's some people that are monogamous, but most people in their life at one point want to have sex with other people, and they extremely, in a very deep, deep, deep way, want to be with more than one person. So if you come in and you enforce a system of monogamy on people, eventually there's going to be rebellion against it and it's going to be toppled over. So the reason that we're not seeing that is because there were so many social problems locked up with that enforced monogamy that it just was unsustainable anymore. Nobody wanted to live like that, and it broke down. And just the thing is that because you enforce your system, a more natural system of kind of like polygamy and free love, um, like like in Mazdaism, they had free love, but they raised the children communally, and it worked until the other Zoroastrians came in and murdered them all. But the reason that there's problems right now is because we were coming out of your system, and there was no other system in place to deal with the more natural inclinations of humans. Like, how do we deal with the fact that we're not monogamous? How do we deal with this fact? Well, we can't enforce monogamy on people, but how do we build families? How do we keep families? How do we make this work in a non-monogamous way? That's what needs to be figured out now. And that's where I'm coming from. So, the thing that I promote is polygamy, like complex marriage. So right now it's very hard to stay monogamous, but it's also very expensive to raise children, to buy a house, to have a family. So, I say create unions. Not even everyone in the union needs to be attracted to each other. It's like a contract, a marriage contract between more than two people in order to share finances, the
Are we
raising of
talking about
children.
polyamorous? Is this what we're talking
Yes,
about? Oh, you're talking
yes.
about polyamorous. Okay. The people I knew that were into this, they all ended up split it up. That whole thing fell apart. I'm not seeing a lot of stability in that.
Okay, 50% of monogamous marriages break up. So there's really,
Sure.
and
That's right.
okay, so they
Or
really have no right to be talking to poly people about breaking up. I
We
mean,
can
anyone.
people have a right to talk about anything they want.
I
This
know,
is
but I mean, if you're molesting 50 kids, you don't need to be like pointing at someone and like you molested 75. Like it doesn't fly. You
well,
know what I mean?
I'm not talking about who molested who here.
Yeah, but you're talking about relationship. You're talking about relationship stability, and you just have no right to
No, I'm
criticize
talking
anyone.
about the family as being the foundation of society.
Okay,
That
but
is
polygamy can
presented.
create a family too.
Well, sure, polygamy can. Polygamy
Yep.
can.
Yeah, it
Muslims have
can.
polygamy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it doesn't need to be monogamy.
It needs to be a stable family with that father in the home. This
Oh,
what I'm seeing here are a lot of really needy kind of children get put in these daycare centers and stuff a lot, right? Well, uh, if you look at the statistics, children that go to daycare are more aggressive. So, okay, so they're more aggressive from being in a daycare and this. Now, we have value as human beings. Fathers have a value, and so do mothers, and their value has been marginalized down to nothing more than an egg and sperm donor to create somebody that the state is taking over. This has to end. The parental authority needs to be back in the picture where they're in control of their kids. They're the expert on their kids, not some government official who's never even been around children. Okay, it's a really big problem that goes across the entire society of what all this has caused.
well,
So if
this was caused. You caused this because you abused your children, and then they grew
I
up and they
don't,
said this is
I
never.
didn't abuse
Of
anybody's
course,
kid.
no. If you look, my mother abused because my mother was an insane religious woman. I have grown up with this like deep burning need, like you cannot do that to your kids. Okay, like I think that if you are giving your child a problem for being homosexual, it should be taken away from you. Okay, like absolutely, you have no right to do that. If you're bothering it because it is a homosexual or because it is trans, take the child away. That's because my parents abused me because I was a homosexual. If my parents had never done that, I probably would that wouldn't even be crossing my mind. If you people did not abuse your children, the state would not be trying to come in and interfere. The state are abused children. People whose parents fucked them up and they said never again, and now they're coming in and trying to save the next
Well,
generation.
I don't want a bunch of damaged, abused people running social services.
Well, you damaged and abused them.
We damaged and abused them. My
Yes.
father didn't damage me. My mother didn't damage me. And even if they weren't perfect parents, we're talking about a stable society. Okay. Now, what does promoting people to have sex outside of marriage to their other spouse have to do with children? What is it?
It
What does it have to do
it
with
doesn't have
providing
to have any.
support?
It doesn't
Okay, well,
have to have anything to do with.
it's not making children to have same gender sex. Now, I'm not. No one in Islam. Nobody actually being a homosexual isn't a problem as long as it's not out in the street. As long as it's not being promoted as an equal lifestyle with the family. And I don't see it as an equal lifestyle.
Well, I don't. But I do think that look, whenever you have a society like in these cultures, they hunt down gay men on Grinder and kill them and stuff like that. I mean, the I
I'm
mean,
not. I'm not. Look, I've been in Muslim countries, man. They're gay couples living together in the neighborhoods and stuff. They're
no,
around.
they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. I
They're
know
hypocrites.
this is what yes, they are hypocrites. You're not supposed to be doing that. If you find them, you're supposed to throw them off a fucking building. Or if three people witness it,
No.
if three
That
people witness
only
it,
becomes when Islam isn't being implemented correctly in the United States and in a lot of the places. They are ignored until it becomes a public spectacle. Everyone knows, and it looks like it's being promoted. Okay, you have gay people in all of these countries.
okay, well, you don't let them get married. So I mean,
I don't control the law about them getting married. If they want to get married, they can have their own little ceremony. Commitment ceremony themselves. Just don't publicize it all over the place. The idea is to show a
that you
stable
publicize it.
model.
No, but you can publicize it. And look, us doing this doesn't do anything to your families.
Oh, it
If
does plenty. It does plenty.
no,
But this
if
breakdown has gone
80% of the
on in the
population,
stores.
if
Huh?
if 70 to 80% of the population is heterosexual, just because homosexuals can get a marriage certificate doesn't stop you from creating families. It doesn't stop you from creating
The
families.
society itself has acted as if the family structure just doesn't matter. It
It does
does
matter, but
matter.
it was abused. It was
Well,
abused.
we're talking about fixing it. I do. Well,
No,
there
but it
was a
was abused by people like you, and then people came in and wanted to fix it,
who
and
did I
maybe
abuse? Who did I abuse?
people like you with your
Like me? How am
ideology.
I like? How am I like? What am I like that you're saying I abuse people?
Well, I mean, the fact that you're a Muslim shows that you're a very backward person.
Oh well, okay. So now you have a prejudice against Muslims
Well,
to the point that you
and
can't even
Christians
listen.
and Jews.
That you can't listen to the.
Okay, but I also have a prejudice against communists, and I'm not going to sit all day and like let a communist lecture me about how communism is so progressive.
I didn't. I'm not forcing my lecture on you.
No, 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 but you're trying. Look, if a communism to me is backward, if a communist is going to tell me, "Oh, you're just prejudiced against," I'm prejudiced against you for a reason.
Well, what's the reason
I'm
you're prejudiced against me that I don't
well,
like
look at
that you're in a polyamorous relationship?
look at what the Quran teaches. Look what Islam teaches.
Okay, what's it teaching? You tell me what it's teaching.
It's teaching very like socially conservative values.
Wow, that's right. That's what we're talking about. Socially conservative values. Okay, I agree with that. So what's the problem with the socially conservative value?
Well, because it
It,
rejects half of the population.
so now gay people are half the population.
Not oh no, also promiscuity amongst heterosexuals.
And this is what?
What?
I mean, how is this a problem?
That it shuns it, and if it takes over control, regulates it. Yeah, that's a
Well,
problem.
shouldn't it shun it? I think it
No,
should
I
be
don't think so.
shunned. As
No,
a promoted lifestyle in society, it needs to be shunned.
no,
Okay,
that
children need to not even be thinking about any of this stuff in elementary school, junior high.
I
high
thought
school. They
about it
shouldn't be
without.
thinking-
I thought about it since I was 5 years old. This is people
Well,
like
that
you
doesn't
are
need to
very.
be.
You're very sexually. You people like you developed very late in your sexuality. I've noticed. Like you just cannot comprehend that young people have sexuality because you must have not become sexual until you were much older. It must be something in your genetics. Some people mature earlier than other people do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm promoting the immature view of the family as being the norm in society to build on, and all the other little ideas are other little ideas that do
Well,
not
okay,
need to be promoted in society. People can decide these things as an adult, not as children. It's kind of like if someone is in a home, let's say they're in a different religion, in a home, what their children see in the home would be probably their parents' religion until they grow up, and then they decide to do something else. It's not this idea that we're going to have floating morality and it's whatever it is today, and it's up to the child. They need stability. This is not stability. What's going on right now? This is not stability for children.
yes, it
Children
is
don't need this.
stability.
They don't need to think about this. They don't need to
How is
analyze it.
sex unstable? How is sex unstable?
I didn't say sex was unstable.
Well,
I
how
said
is
this
any
is instability in the family structure and stuff. This kind
nobody's
of stuff.
stopping people from forming families. They can do whatever they want. They're just letting them know they have options.
Well, they don't need to be told options when they're
Yeah,
10
no,
years
they need to be told
old.
that. No, because I needed to be let to know that I had an option when back in the day it was like what you wanted was the only thing that was promoted. When it was just like heterosexual family, I'm like, okay, well, that's not for me. But, I would have been happy if there was like, and there's these people that do it this way too. And then I've been like, oh, yeah, I'm validated. I
And
have a
how's
place
that
in
helping
society
society?
because it makes people feel validated and makes them feel integrated and it
Oh, so
stops.
it's all about how the self feels now. It's all about
You
feeling
have no
validated
oh
with
oh yeah, but
self.
you have and what is your family thing only? Not family only thing based on. It's based on some subjective opinion. So your subjective opinions are more valid than mine.
Yeah, they are, as far as I'm concerned about this.
Yeah,
Now, so
okay,
that's
well, it's
what I'm promoting. I'm not saying let's everybody just everything's okay. I mean, I'm seeing the society is suffering from all this stuff, and it's not based on just if somebody's gay or not. It's a much wider thing. But the biggest stability, the biggest thing that builds stability is a family, a child being in a family that's so stable that no matter what's going on, it's not fluidly changing a lot. Now, the polyamorous lifestyle, it's very, the people end up changing partners a lot. I don't think it's good for children to be around people changing partners a lot and stuff. And I knew a family of polyamorous people, and they were talking about how great it was, and then the whole thing fell apart. I guess one of the
okay,
women left
well,
because she decided she wanted to be with one man or something, and then the other one, I don't know why she left. And then, I mean,
okay, that's
it,
one anecdotal,
well, it's my anecdotal one, and
okay, well, I could
whether
say
or
I
not
know Muslims.
I don't
I
like.
could
Look,
say I
I'm
know
not I'm
Muslims who
not a
blow
big
up
proponent.
buildings. I could say I know Muslims who blow up buildings, and there's probably a lot more Muslims who have blown
Oh,
up
I
a lot
can't
more
hear you.
buildings.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What did you say?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so. It's a little bit bubbly. I'm on the phone. I don't
I
have.
said I
Uh huh.
said I could say I know Muslims who have blown up buildings. You know what I mean? I
Sure.
can use I can use that as my little anecdote.
Yeah. So we shouldn't try to make a better society and stuff for children, for our
I don't
family.
I don't I
The
don't think what
family is the
your
foundation. Look, the family is the
I
foundation.
know a foundation and okay, the family can be okay, the family reproduction is what is really important and raising children in an environment. So the family does not need to be monogamous and monogamy does not bring stability necessarily if the parents are extremely unhappy in the relationship. People who are extremely
An
unhappy in their
unhappy childhood with both. Okay, it depends on how bad it gets. An unhappy childhood. Okay. Picture this: you're a kid in a classroom, and you got these parents that are fighting all the time and all this kind of stuff, right? Nobody wants to be around that. They're upset. They don't like it. They don't want to get married. But they notice that everybody else in the school, parents are married, and so then they think, well, okay, my parents are just kind of screwy. They're just kind of fighting all the time. But I see these other models of people that seem to be working, seems to be getting along, and they still have the idea in their head that yeah, it's a goal to have a family, procreate, pass on their values to the next generation. I don't see any value in passing down such fluid ideas that no one's passing down anything.
well, no,
I don't see that
you
as
could pass
passing
down
down
just
value.
because you're polygamous doesn't mean you can't pass down a religion or an ethic or an ideology. I mean, you just equate sexual liberalism with immorality and moral nihilism is what you associate it with, and
No,
there's no
I'm associate. I'm not against polygamy,
no polyamory.
but yeah, I don't see any point to bringing up children and unstable things. If they want to go be polyamorous as an
No, but
adult and
okay,
not
it needs they need to know that it's a valid option for them and that being a
right,
family
why
person
does a 10-year-old need to know their sexual valid options they can have when
because
they're
I was a 10-year-old
35?
who was sexually different and wanted that for me. That's why.
Well, yes, the whole world's not
I'm
about
doing it because
you.
I want it done for me.
Well, okay, you wanted it done for you for what?
So that I would feel okay. When I was a young child, it was still very hard to be gay in school. It was still very hard to be gay. And it would have been a lot easier if, okay, I started getting teased for being gay in fourth or fifth grade.
Mm-hmm.
So, if before that, I had, in a very academic setting, we had learned about gay people and who they are and how they've been
Before what
persecuted.
grade? Before what grade you learned this? I'm not
Well,
quite understanding the timeline
okay,
here.
well, okay, the teasing started in fourth or fifth grade, so it should be
Right,
before then.
right.
It should be before then because you want to catch it before it starts.
Catch
Um,
catch teasing about?
Being homosexual, yes.
Okay, so you want everyone to go to school and not be teased, right? I mean, your thing is
Well,
okay.
children should not be abused in school for anything. I mean, it is
Oh,
up to
absolutely, I agree with that. They should be
okay,
abused in school.
okay, it's up to adults to make sure that children don't abuse each other.
It's up to adults to make sure children don't abuse each other, to have a stable relationship in the school. Sure, to
Yeah,
have a
okay. So
stable
okay.
environment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's a class of people who have been historically oppressed in society and where there are still many negative stereotypes about them in society and where there is still a contingent in society which wishes to diminish their value as a human being, um, I think that, well, gay people exist, so they should learn about gay people anyway. But
And
gay people,
school.
yes.
Yeah, we're going to waste more time in school talking about
Wait, why? Okay,
turning
why can't?
kids to having a family. I mean, to having a monogamous family, or a family with the father living home and then the mother, and we're gonna just confuse them all so they have no
No, not
idea.
confuse them. The ones that are already not, the ones that are already gay will just be like, okay, I have a place in this world and I'm validated, and and they should know that they were persecuted and where they come from, and that they need to be on guard, and that they always need to like
Didn't you figure that out after the kids started teasing you?
teasing me about what figure what out.
Didn't you figure out it was going to be hard in the world when the other kids started
Okay, well,
teasing you?
it needs to not be hard in the world.
Well, they should. The schools are out of control.
Well, the schools need to make sure that children understand that gay people exist, and those gay children need to understand
They
that
already
there's
know that. They already know they
no,
exist. The mere
no, but
fact they were
there needs to be a
teasing you
place.
shows they knew that.
Oh, so
Okay.
that's how you're supposed to learn about it, by being teased, not by actually a constructive lesson about how to respect these people.
Oh, I think lessons on respecting people, adopt, manners. Sure, that should be taught. That's not
Okay, what
taught in
about
school
respecting a
anymore.
homosexual and not teasing them or saying things to them like what you're
There's
doing
no
is
reason.
sinful?
There's no reason to go out and hunt down homosexuals in Islam. There's no reason to do that.
I know, but
We just
you
don't
make
want
their
it
life
in
difficult.
society.
You
We
make
don't
their
want.
life
Listen,
difficult. You make it a
listen,
shameful act to
listen,
do. They can't get
listen.
married.
Okay,
You don't
I'm
talk
not
about it
doing
in
anything to anybody.
public.
Listen. Islam isn't just saying gays need to stay in the closet. They're saying everybody needs to keep their sex in their home. It's not out in society. This parading around sexual preference and who has sex with who and
Yeah,
how
but
you're
you guys are okay.
expressing and
The
developing
world is
yourself.
allowed to know that you and your husband, if you have one, are in a marital relationship that implies sex. Okay, in the Muslim world, you're not allowed. I mean, people are not allowed to know that you have a boyfriend. I mean, they're just not allowed to know that. That's not something that.
This is has it worked out that everybody has had boyfriends starting so young, and there's all these kids now who don't have both parents in the home. Now maybe you think, okay, they don't really need it because somebody else can fix this. No, I don't believe that. I think children that are in a dysfunctional monogamous or I don't want to say monogamous. I want to say that the parents were monogamous, to the point with these children. Like they're not seeing different people come in and out of the home as part of the family unit. This is instability. It's it's traumatizing to get attached to people and then have them leave. It's really traumatizing. Okay, children get attached to people. They're not miniature adults. Okay, so for children, it's easier if they don't have to keep thinking about the think. Is anybody there anymore?
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't tell on the phone what's going on.
I don't know
Where
where
was
Claire
I?
went.
Oh, Claire left. Oh, well. What is it I'm trying to say here? Okay, listen, I was brought up in a Catholic family, right? And it went on. Now I never got confirmed. I did go through not. I'm sorry. I never got. Yeah, I never went through confirmation, but I did. I did go through communion and that. And when the church got a little bit too groovy, my mom quit going. Yeah, she didn't want to sit there, and they started getting a little bit on the folk, in the 60s and stuff. They started getting a little bit hug everybody next to you kind of thing in church and all this. She didn't want to hug everybody in the pew. Okay, she just didn't like it, and she thought it was a little bit too lax. She liked the more traditional service and all that, and none of us wanted to be Catholic. All right, I do have one of my relatives is still Catholic of my nuclear family, but it was obvious to her, and she just thought, got to the point of being pointless. Okay, but we were brought up in this family. Okay, maybe we didn't like it all the time. As young people, we want to go out and have fun and do all this stuff, but they were a rock and all. They were absolute. They were just a real foundation for our family.
Okay, but you don't have to be a religious person to be a rock,
I didn't say
and
anybody has to be a religious person.
or
Where
a
did I say
monogamous
that?
family to be a rock. There's plenty of monogamous families that are horrible to their children and absolutely ruin them. Just because you're a monogamous family doesn't mean that your children are coming out good.
Well, there's no guarantee with anything, is there?
No,
There's no guarantee.
there's no
So,
guarantee, but
okay,
but
what family? Okay, the people that are making babies, making them between two people, it's either everybody out in society and there's no commitment, or there's people with a commitment and are having their kids, right? So which one is obviously more stable from the beginning? I mean, you have to try at least in the to be stable in the beginning. Do you
okay,
see what I'm saying? It
yes,
has to
okay,
start out with stable.
okay. So I mean, look, I mean,
It's
I
hard
want a
to
much.
understand. It's hard.
I want.
It's
Okay, you want to work on society with tradition. Look, the difference between me and you is I want to evolve humanity to a point where, like, okay, this is the way I would see things, that with birth control, obviously, I believe in separating sex from reproduction. Okay, sex and reproduction need to be two separate things. They shouldn't be linked together anymore so that you can have one without the other, and you can even reproduce without having sex. Now, you can do IVF, you don't have to have sex to reproduce, and if you do have sex doesn't mean you're going to reproduce. So, that's the first thing. And that the second thing is that breeding should be done in a very planned, specific manner. I think that things need to change,
a,
and
a planned, specific manner. So now we're what? We're cattle.
it would be much better for the.
We're going to have the agricultural farm, and we're going to breed the children.
That would be much better than what's going on now. Okay,
What's
what
better
you
than
have
what's going
no,
on now?
what
What's
you
better?
have done, what people like you have done, have bred the human race based on love, emotion, alcohol, or whatever other fucked up thing got the two of you in
Hey,
bed
can you
together.
talk to me? Can you talk to me without cussing? Because I'm not cussing at you. I'm being pretty polite.
Well, I'm not cussing at
listen to
you.
me.
I
Listen,
wasn't
listen
cussing.
to me. But let's just try a little bit better elevated speaking. I know I'm not a
Oh, but I just
great example.
naturally curse. I wasn't cursing at you. That's my natural speech pattern.
No, listen
And
to what I'm saying.
I know, but this is a tactic that people like you don't curse, don't curse. Like I wasn't cursing
No, you're
at you.
talking to
I
me.
used a
I'm
curse
telling
word.
you my values, and you don't want to hear. I'm telling you right now, I have a value that a man can't talk to me like that because I have respect for my husband.
I didn't
Okay?
curse at you. I used a curse word.
Listen to what I'm saying. I know everybody slangs and talks like that. Yeah, I mean, I cuss sometimes too. I just don't want to be in some conversation where it's like, someone is getting this excited that they're cussing with a man. I just don't want to be in conversation with a man like that. Right? Do you understand?
Sounds a little
This
weak,
is
but fine.
well, you can
That's
think it's weak, but I don't think it adds anything to dialogue or discussing
well.
ideas.
Look, the point is that you have haphazardly, randomly bred the human race since the dawn of civilization, and a haphazard, random breeding is no way to bring children onto the earth. Like just like a free for all.
What do you suggest? What does this look like that's around you? It's a big free for all.
I know that's what heterosexual love marriage or arranged marriage is, a free for all. It's not based on any scientific type of program in order
You
to
want a
evolve the human.
scientific program to tell people how to have children?
Well, not tell. I want people to voluntarily.
Eugenics? We're talking about eugenics here
Yes,
now? Or you want
yes,
to do eugenics?
yes.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for that.
Well, of course you
I'm
wouldn't
not
because
breeding. We're not breeding cattle. We're not trying
it
to get
it
new
would be,
cattle. I'm just,
okay. It would be better if we bred like cattle than the way we do
what
now.
is a commitment I would possibly have with a child who's bred like cattle
You
and
could. It would be your child.
doesn't live with
I
me,
didn't say it wouldn't live with you. I didn't
Well,
say it
that's the
didn't live
next
with you.
step, isn't it? The next step is take the eugenic bred child away from the parents. That would be the next step.
Why? No, I don't
Because
suggest that.
you've decided
No, okay, I want
people.
the families. Okay, okay, I believe in creating large polygamous families which internally practice eugenics. So it's run by the family. So I don't believe in separating the child from the family.
Well, Muslims don't believe in separating children from family.
Okay, well, neither do I.
Okay, so then where's the argument there?
We're not having an argument about
I
that.
meant argument, in discussion argument. I don't mean like
Well, no,
fist fight.
you were saying that you said you accused me of wanting to take the children away from the parents.
No. I said eugenics. The idea of eugenics then turns into taking the child away from the parents. Now,
No, it doesn't.
yeah, listen to me. You got a kid, makes the baby. Okay. So the two people that created the baby, I mean, the two people whose DNA or whatever created that baby, made that baby. I think children deserve to be brought up in the same house with the two people that contributed that DNA. What's the institution that gets the two people with the same DNA in uh, with that child for a good part of their life is marriage. Okay,
Which nobody
I
wants
don't
to
think
sit
my
in.
sister. If I'm in a polyamorous, let's say I was in a polyamorous relationship, and I have a child, right? I'm having a child as a woman. Let's say I'm polyamorous and I'm a woman, and I have a child. I don't think my husband's other wife or the other people living in the house have the same level of authority over that child. Now, what you're proposing is some kind of a group authority, like a little commune and like a little kibbutz or something that's all over the child. I don't believe in that. I think the actual DNA parents have a lot to offer a child.
Well, no, I would believe that the DNA parents would have more input in the child's life than
But
the other.
I'm talking about authority here. I'm talking about now authority and hierarchy over a child.
Okay,
A lot of
wait.
polygamists.
You can have several adults in a house having authority over a child, but there's
No,
a
I don't
hierarchy.
believe that. I
No, no,
don't
no, no. Wait,
believe
wait, wait.
that.
Look, you can have a house where there's an uncle, a grandfather, and a
Not,
cousin that's older,
not.
all living with you, and they
Listen.
have some right to direct the child. But there's a hierarchy amongst the father and the mother come first, but then the uncle can tell them what to do sometimes, or the grandfather or the older cousin can tell them what to do sometimes. It's not
They
like
can't assert the two parents' authority. What's
I
going
didn't
on
say
is like,
that.
look, listen, but that's what goes on when you're all
How
in
do
the
you
house
know?
like that. Yeah, because I've seen people in this. Okay,
No, well, you just lay down the ground rules. It's whose child is whose child. That's it. And also, we don't all need to live together. It doesn't need to be a kibbutz. It needs to be it needs to be a network of relationships, and they don't even need to all be sexual. Some of them could
okay.
be
So what you're
platonic.
talking about is really a recreation of a family. I'm not real educated. I don't have the vocabulary. I've had a lot of senior moments. So what you're advocating is some sort of replacement of the extended family. Is basically what
Yes.
you're. Well, what if you don't have to replace the extended family? Why would you
Well,
have to do
no,
that?
don't replace the extended family. Just extend the family even more with
Well, isn't
polygamy.
that what most people do? If they
No,
try, most people, if they have an extended family, they do extend that. I mean, if it's an extended family, their child's brought
well,
up and seen that, right?
the more marriages you have, the more extended family you have.
Oh, so you're saying I'm not quite following how this is a great replacement for a regular, the
Okay, the
old-fashioned model
more
of extended family.
if you have a marriage that has 4 people in it, that's more extended families than if you just have 2 people in it.
Well, extended family would be the aunts and uncles and all those too,
Yeah,
right?
I know. So
Yeah.
if you have 4 people, you have all the aunts and uncles and the cousins and the this and the that, and you have more extended family. It's about extending your family and getting more network. This is why I want, even though polygamous people, the polyamorous, are going to remain smaller in number because there's naturally less people that want to live like this. I think that we'll be able to gain social control because we'll have more extended networks. Okay, like I want us to have more extended networks.
How is promoting I mean, we keep saying monogamous here, but we'll just use it for that. How is promoting a monogamous marriage where people are having their own children in that interfering with your extended network?
Okay, how is legalizing my form of polygamy and making people aware that it's an option stopping you from having monogamous families?
Because it's an unstable concept to begin with.
No, no,
When it goes this
you
far.
cannot, you don't have the right where every 5 seconds there's a rebellion in your society against monogamy to tell us that what we're doing is unstable.
It's unstable.
No, how stable is yours if you can't keep it going without force?
I didn't nobody no I didn't force
Okay,
anything.
you cannot keep monogamy going without a lot of social and legal force making it happen.
You can't leave monogamy as an option in this planet, whatever you want to call it. This you can't keep it as as even identifiable as an option, and that's what's happening. Monogamy is not the encouraged lifestyle anymore in the West.
Well, but I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's
I mean, monogamy should be monogamy needs to be more than just some idea in a textbook that people used to do this. That's what it's turned into.
well, why not?
Well, why?
Well, because you created such an unstable situation that it just collapsed.
It didn't
Yes,
collapse
monogamy.
because of a. It didn't collapse because of that. They collapsed because people bought into the sexual revolution and didn't think marriage was relevant anymore.
No, they didn't buy into it. They wanted that to happen. They were desperate for that to happen. Okay, they didn't fall
No, they
into
didn't
any.
even know what they were doing. I'm talking about
No,
straight
people
people, but they
today.
had no idea that it would. They didn't know it would go this far,
No,
and you don't
they
see
didn't want
it.
to live like that anymore. They didn't want to live like that anymore. They wanted free love, and they did what they wanted
Well,
to
how's
do.
free
That
love
they
working
weren't.
out?
Nobody.
All this free love I see in society is not working out. I'm
Well,
seeing a
look.
lot of unstable youth. Okay, now even a dysfunctional monogamous family had more stable, had a better chance of having stable youth when everybody else thought had some kind of understanding of this authority, and that people stayed together even if they didn't like things, and they had a better understanding of toughing it up and trying to work things out. Now you have a bunch of people that they can't even agree on the same TV show because everybody has a different TV in their rooms. We had to make agreements. You understand? I don't think this is a good model for children to grow up in. I'm not saying they wouldn't have fun or maybe like everybody involved in it. I'm not saying that, but I don't think it's stability because it's the marriage is so extended outward that what are you preserving?
You're
How is
preserving.
the child? How is the child? How is it two people committed to that child? Everybody wants to talk about let's have fun. Okay, what about the commitment to that child to the point that both people are saying, we're just going to do this together to bring this kid up and try to stay together here. We're going to try to stay together. Me, you. I'm not going to make kids with somebody else. So my loyalty and stuff is split up to the point that I can't possibly be a father to them. Well, what's wrong with this idea? Why not focus on what kind of product it's turning these children into? Okay, now I'm really sorry that
Well, look, no, the thing is that too many people are the product, at least in the older generation, it's changing now. But the people who brought all these policies in are a little bit older than me. Were born into enforced monogamous families, and they feel as though the toxic nature of forcing people to stay together who are not meant to be together damaged them. Okay. So people came out of monogamous families feeling damaged and they said, hey, let's stop this. Let's stop this. That's what
okay,
happened.
okay. There comes a limit here of where there comes a limit to when people need to split these marriages up. Okay, now maybe if they're somewhat unhappy at it and stuff, and it's stable, if it's stable for the kids, you know, that I think they can think about still staying together. Now, if it's some kind of gets to the point of really some, you know, crazy, I mean, I don't know, abuse off the wazoo, you know, somebody's running after somebody with knives and fighting all the time. Yeah, I mean, they probably should split up. I remember people used to go fake affairs with photos so they could get a divorce, and they'd usually have the guy do the photos, right? They'd have him in bed, they'd hire some hooker or someone someone and take these photos and say that's the reason we're getting divorced. He had an affair. Sometimes the guy didn't even have an affair. Yeah, I remember people doing that, right? I remember that. But you know, at least it caused them to come together and make a decision and work out a decision. This running down and I'm just gonna check out. I'm just gonna leave the family now. I'm gonna leave the family because I can't toughen it out and just stay. It's a real commitment. This is a big commitment and a huge
Yeah, I know,
commitment
but
to the children.
sometimes that it, yeah, but we all know
Okay, so what?
that
So sometimes somebody's unhappy. They're bringing kids.
n-
This is more important than those kids
it's
they're
it's
making.
it creates instability when you force a social system on people that they don't want to live in.
All societies force a social system. All
Not yeah,
societies.
but it should work with human nature. It shouldn't
How's
work
this
against
human nature? What
it.
about this is
Well,
human nature? You're talking
it's
about
human.
humans deciding what they're going to do. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, we're not going to. We're not a slave to some abstract idea of human nature. We want to build a better human.
Yeah,
Right. So
exactly. That's what
that's
I'm.
what we want to do with children. Now, I think they need, you know, when I was in school and stuff, yeah, we knew some of the kids were gay in school. Yeah, I mean, you know, we knew some of them were. You know, some of them, I saw some pictures of some high school reunion or something. You know, and some of them came back with their boyfriends and stuff. You know, one of the girls was a lesbian. I mean, everybody kind of knew, but so what?
Okay, but I'm sure. Well, how old are you,
How
if I
old are
may ask?
you?
I'm 38.
Okay, well, I'm 65.
You don't sound 65.
Do I sound
So,
older? No, well, that's what
no,
happens when you get old.
you sound younger. You sound much
No,
younger.
no,
I thought you were my age.
no.
Um, um, uh, I
Look,
know.
I'm
Well,
not
that
promoting an idea. I'm not promoting an idea of going back in time, and it all has to be exactly the same as it was with my father. But I am promoting the idea of this thinking being the prevalent thinking in society, and it's not resting on gay agenda. Okay, I mean, if gay people have their agenda and want to do it, they can do it. I'm not going to help promote that because I'm promoting the stable family, the
okay. You could
stable.
do that without trying to get in our way by stopping it in the schools and stuff like
Oh,
that.
why should I? I'm going to send them to an institution that's teaching a bunch of values that don't match mine. No, the school needs to reflect our values.
Okay, but no, there's no hour. There's lots of
It's
different
a
values in
people's
America.
values. Okay, if they
Okay,
want to
but not
have a
everyone.
gay
If
school,
everyone agreed with you, there'd be no gay marriage right now. Okay, obviously not everyone agrees with you about how children should be taught. So it's not our values. You don't control the country, especially you're a Muslim. There's lots of people that don't share your values here in America.
well, obviously, look around.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A
Obviously,
lot of people are
okay.
Christian. A lot of people don't like you because you're
Oh,
Muslim. They don't.
I don't care about the religion part. Okay, I'm talking about the values, the values of what created
Okay, well,
this
half
really good
half of the
society in the
half of the
past.
population disagrees with you, so you can't say our
Oh,
values.
I can't. My values, people who think like me, that's our values right
I
there.
know, but you want them to teach your values in the school so that the other 50% can like not agree with it?
Yes, as a model of stability. And then when the children are adults, they're going to go do whatever they want anyway. I mean, I don't think young people, when they're developing their sexuality and stuff, need to be bombarded with sexual alternatives. I mean,
Not
this is
bombarded.
crazy.
It's
Why?
re
Why talk about it? You
no,
don't
it's
even
just
need to talk
reaffirming.
about it.
It's reaffirming to those who naturally don't fit into
Oh,
heterosexual monogamy.
so
It's
what? Well, you want to take a school system and use it as a platform to teach everybody to not buy into heterosexual monogamy.
no, not buy in. Just be like, hey, wait, you don't feel like this is your path? You're valid because this is
When they're
another path.
12 years old.
I knew I was gay when I was 5.
Okay, you knew you were gay when you were 5. Okay, so you think the whole school system needs to cater to this idea that's rather ambiguous and rather fluid. See, what I'm talking about is one presentation. All the people I knew that were brought up Catholic, like some people talk about the Catholic, oh, it's so horrible, and some liked it, right? Right? But when they grew up, they decided what they wanted to do because they had such a stable presentation in front of them. They were actually able to make a decision about what they really wanted to do or not as an adult. If it's this fluid when children are young, you're going to end up with a bunch of children that are just having difficulty making a decision when they're older. If somebody's gay and they're committed to that, instead of like experimenting when their whole sexual development hasn't even happened, because I don't believe children have to go out and have sex with their other students and stuff when they're 12. You understand what I'm saying? They don't need to be expressing their sexuality. 12-year-olds can function in control society. They're not in that position. They're not in a position to take care of children if they end up with one. They're not in that position. So if somebody decides as an adult, okay, I'm going to be gay, and they go out and they be gay, and they're not bothering it, if they're not promoting it, but to promote it, to promote different sexual lifestyles, the classroom. Now, I've been places, daycare centers, whatever, and here somebody comes in, they got 2 moms or 2 dads or whatever. They don't have to over-explain it to kids. Yeah, she has 2 moms. The kid can just think, well, maybe they're divorced. I mean, they have a lot of divorced people. They have 2 moms and 2 dads, right? I mean, kids don't need to be over-explained like what's going on now. I mean, it's crazy, and it's not the only important thing with this problem. Okay, by not promoting the monogamous, I don't want to say monogamous because I'm not really against polygamy, but let's say the monogamous lifestyle, 2 parents, 2 kids, it's a foundation. It's a foundation that's hard to shake up as long as the authority stays intact. What you are suggesting are lifestyles where parental authority is undermined, because it's always going to be undermined if you're living in a house with a bunch of other people who think they have some say in that child within the home. I'm talking about within the home. So they need to see massive stability in the home. Then they have to go to school, see stability in the school, not be bombarded with a bunch of fluid ideas and this idea of morality that just floats around and it changes. I mean, why on earth would, if a child beats up another kid, okay, let's say a kid beats you up in school, right? You're gay and the other kid wants to gay bash you, right? And so then they say, okay, we're gonna expel. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Vincent.
Vincent. Oh yeah, Vincent. Yeah, we're gonna expel Vincent because this kid beat up on him, and now we're gonna sit in the chair, and Vincent's gonna express his feeling to the aggressor, and the aggressor kid's just gonna sit there and snicker because nothing happened to him. Obviously, if you got beat up at school, something should have happened that didn't resemble that. But that's what's going on, because this idea of floating morality, and now they're even promoting a different discipline system in schools due to some preconceived idea about the races and how their children have different expectations of behavior. This is true insanity. Okay, so a conservative value would be, can my child go to school, get through school without being massively beat up by other students? Okay, that should be enforced. Yeah, they should be able to do that. They need to get control of the school and stop this stuff, right? Can my I mean, this is important, and this comes out of the stability of the family. Families are so unstable now that they can't even get a school district to stop this nonsense, right? So now you got a bunch of
No,
people
they can't get a school district to stop it because the parents are not all in unison in stopping this. I mean, you keep people like you act like, 90% of the world thinks like you, and that's just not true.
I'm
You
saying
can't
90% of the world needs to start thinking like this while
Okay,
their
but you
children are
can't you
growing
can't
up.
get anything done not because you're disorganized, just because there's not enough people on your side.
Uh, this is out of control here. I don't know where you live. This is out of control where I live. This is totally out of control. I don't think people need to sit around. I don't think they need to sit around in a sex education class. And now they got the genders together. They have a sex education class, and the lady that comes in to teach it gets one of the students to sit on her lap. That's what happened when I was in school. Okay, people want to act like this is okay. This isn't okay.
Well, a teacher shouldn't be asking a student to sit in her lap.
I'm just
I
telling
mean,
you what happened. Okay, this
okay,
is what happened.
that's like an
I
aberration and
don't
a
need.
le
They don't need to. They don't
Okay,
need to have any of this
no,
kind of
that's not
presentation.
normal. That's a one-off illegal act. That's not like what they normally do in these classrooms.
Nobody thought it was illegal then. All right. So if you're going to say, okay, how far do you want to go? Where is the limit going to be with all of this?
Okay, there's a difference between sexual contact and learning about sex.
I thought that stability in any way. I don't see how encouraging everybody to run around, have sex when they really have no business having sex, because they don't even have enough money to take care of a kid when you're a teenager.
Well, but birth
You're
control,
basically,
I know, but birth control makes it so that you don't need to worry about that as
but
much.
okay, so that's going to make it okay. So now we're going to let kids have so many sexual partners that they can't even have an idea that, wow, how would you possibly survive with one? I mean, your idea is, yeah, it's not natural to think one can survive with just one partner. How's that giving them an option?
No, most people are naturally going to want one partner. Most people are naturally monogamous.
Okay, but now you just told me earlier that.
Okay, well, no, that's a lie. Wait, no, I don't mean it that way. Okay, most people are monogamous. Are most people monogamous? I think most people are monogamous for a period of time. I think that. But I think most people eventually do want another partner. But this is what I'll put it this way. Most people will be serial monogamous, meaning they'll go from one monogamous relationship to the next, to the next, to the next, and rather than being polygamous,
That's a new norm. I mean, you realize that, right? That's a new norm. Didn't you?
Well, it's just okay. Well, now we just need to find a way to breed scientifically rather than emotionally.
Why? Why should we breed scientifically? Why should somebody be bred scientifically and brought up with a scientific method? Are we people in a petri dish here, or?
It would be better. It would be better to do that. Look, it would be better if we bred like farm animals.
Listen. What you're proposing, okay? What would the next step be? Okay, your improvement, your idea of improvement is, your idea of improvement. I'm saying it this way, but that's what you're saying. Is we need to break down the idea of the oppressive monogamous family structure, because a lot of us don't like it, and we don't like it. Okay, which liking it is a reason to not like something, liking or not liking it. Okay, so we want to do that. So now we're going to go into this polyamorous model, and we're going to have these different people. Oh, well, no, I don't mean that everybody has authority over the kid, just the parents. They're going to have an agreement to this. Like, people are going to do that. Like, someone's not going to tell a kid to get out of their face that's jumping around in front of them, right? So now we're going to have this polyamorous thing, and we're going to have this wider network, because we just ruined what would have been the extended family of the monogamous relationship, because that no longer exists, right? So now we're going to have this.
Yes,
We're
it
gonna
does.
have
They still, you don't lose all your cousins and brothers and sisters and everything
listen,
just because.
listen to what I'm saying. Listen. Okay, so now we're going to have this, and now look where you jumped in this conversation. Now we're going to have eugenic decisions made on having kids. Who's the experts in this eugenics?
The
Who's
family,
expert?
the family would decide. The family would decide.
Not okay. So now we have a group deciding how we're going to breed the next kids, and we're going to use this guy and this woman, and we're gonna make a baby here now. And the authorities, it's getting more confused here. So now, what's the next step?
The next step is that the child is born and has a mother and a father and an
No,
extended family.
What's the next step in this idea of evolution of society and development? Now
There
the
is
next
no
step
next
is
step. There is no
it's
next
going to
step.
it'll end up that structure falls apart too.
No,
All
because
right.
that's not based on force. Nobody's forcing people to do this.
Nothing is making anybody take care of these kids. The society needs to not only have parental authority, they need to expect parental authority.
Okay, I'm not breaking down parental authority.
Well, sure you are.
No, I'm not. They have a mother and a father.
Well, you just said they're having a house with a bunch of people, and this is their extended family. This is like some kind of a
Okay, look, a mother and father can raise a child in a house where authoritative uncles and aunts and cousins and grandparents are there. It's possible. It's not impossible to do that. And so a mother and a father with authority could raise a child where there's other adults present in the house. It doesn't prevent them from having authority over their child.
Exert authority over a child?
What?
Of course they do. You live in a house with the grandparents and the uncles and stuff. They're all going to tell the kid to quit doing something or don't do something.
Okay, they're allowed to a certain degree, but I mean, with major decisions and major punishment.
Yeah, right. Okay, I don't know what you're trying to say.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I have to run. I'm sorry. I just saw the time.
Okay.
Sorry.
We
it was
talk
nice.
Another time.
Yes,
okay.
It was nice talking.
It was nice talking to you too. Okay.
Okay. All right.
And
bye.
you know what? I think there's a time delay a little bit on my computer system or something.
Thanks for coming, Vincent.
Yes, thank you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Claire. So what else is going on today?
Oh, that went well.
I don't know what that was. Okay.
Well, I'm glad I've introduced you and Vincent to each other. He often talks about these things, and I've said to him, look, assuming that you could implement these ideas, what you'd have is a crazy amount of domestic violence in such households.
Well, sometimes there's not. I mean, that's not true that there's always domestic violence, but I do think I don't think the thing is, the stability that needs to be presented to children needs to look unwavering, so they can decide how they want to change their lives when they're older. And a lot of people don't understand this. A Catholic, someone who's brought up Catholic, and they don't believe it, they don't want to be it, any of this stuff, when they're older and they make a decision, it's a more committed decision. Because they had such stability, they actually intellectually thought about it and went against this big norm. So he's wrong in his thinking, I believe. I think the children brought up in stable families where the more the same it is, the more the idea is dad's the boss, mom. They understand this type of a hierarchy. They understand some kind of chain of authority. You're not getting that in the same way if you live in some polyamorous household. You're not. And
No.
and it's fluid. It's too fluid. Polyamorous relationships break up, because they're already having relationships outside the marriage, and then they find another one they like better. That's why they break up.
Mm,
That's exactly what happened to the people I knew that did this.
yes.
Were they kind of nice people? Yeah, okay. We're not talking about whether someone seems pleasant or not here. But that's worse than two monogamous people getting a divorce. This is having a child learn affection for people and then taking it away from them, giving them affection and taking it away from them. You can end up with kids with reactive attachment disorder doing this stuff if it goes on too much before they're 2 years old. They're unable to attach relationships with somebody. This whole thing needs to stop because it's destroying the human race because their psyche is being messed up. We don't want a whole generation of children that have some degree of a reactive attachment disorder. I believe it goes on in these families that keep splitting up too. A lower degree of it. Now, most people say, well, if they can't do an attachment proportion, that's why they tell people don't, maybe it's better not to adopt a kid that's older than 2, because if they've been institutionalized in an orphanage or something and they didn't have a one-on-one relationship that they attach to, they have the inability to do it later. And I don't know if you've ever read any books on this disorder, but it's pretty bleak. Okay, now a lot of these criminals and stuff, I think they have varying degrees of attachment disorder. I think that the I don't know where the textbook diagnosis of it, I believe it starts earlier. I mean, I think they picked the symptoms that they've decided this is attachment disorder, but I think it starts earlier. And you have a sort of attachment disorder in the nuclear family. Okay, dad goes to work, he comes back. Dad goes to work, he comes back. So you see this. There's a separation and a rejoining. A separation and rejoining. The dad's coming and going from the house. But if the mom's able to stay in the house all the time, okay, the mom's there all the time. Mom's here all the time. This is very stable. Dad comes in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. They can see that yes, I can have attachment to him because I have this stable relationship. Watching a soap opera set, right? This all means something, and everybody's acting like none of it means anything because they want to have sexual relationships outside of a traditional marriage and bring children into this.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing that. Do you understand? It's not good for society. We have all these criminals in jail. They're really people who have an attachment disorder to society itself, aren't they?
Yes.
They have no attachment to society. This is so in-depth and so important, and all anyone wants to do is talk around whether somebody didn't feel good because somebody teased them on the playground. Well, the adults should have put an end to that. Yeah, he shouldn't have been made fun of for being gay in elementary school. Right? We're not trying to teach beat everybody up, but that's what's going on. What's going on is such a fragmentation of values and stuff, and people finding reasons to be aggressive over each other. That is normal. That is normal human development.
Yeah.
What civilization does with it and how it takes this and puts it into a civilized nation is what we're going. What's at stake here. Mm-hmm. So I don't think someone, I don't think if you have somebody, they weren't brought up in this ability. I mean, he probably, I mean, I don't know him, but I mean, as an example for him, maybe it was I don't know if his parents were like I don't know if he was in a family with a parent.
His father was divorced 3 or 4
times. Okay, divorced. Okay, divorced. So he already is going to have a slight problem with attachment disorder. Dad left. How many women do you see talk about who didn't have their fathers really in their lives? The pain and suffering they discuss when they really open up about it. Was it better the family split up just because they argued? My argument is up to a certain level, dysfunction in the family is tolerable because it still adds more stability than breaking it up. Okay? So do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not advocating anybody stay together. They're getting the silly putty beaten out of them. I'm not advocating that. But it's not this.
No.
It's not this, and it's not okay. So you have a parent now. That's my mom, that's my dad, right? So the usual thing was if somebody was in society, oh, that's my husband, right? That's my husband, that's my wife. So you understood that was the unit. Now it's like, who's that? That's my baby daddy. That's my baby daddy. Well, who's that guy? That's my fiance. Uh-huh. Well, when you guys get married? Well, I don't know. Oh, he left. He went off with somebody else. So he's just a big jerk. Now I'm going to put all these pictures on Facebook. This is really low-level living. It's basically behaving like a lowlifer. But attachment disorder is a problem. And when you break up the monogamous family, you're encouraging attachment disorder. And this will come out into society, creating more criminals because they have more attachment disorder. Okay, so a dysfunctional family in an environment where everybody else is in the same sort of same monogamous. Okay, traditional marriage. That was traditional marriage in the West. That's in that. They're in that. At least they see other children in class, families modeling this, even if they think theirs is dysfunctional or whatever, right? I think it comes to what point it causes the whole thing to go to heck. Well, nothing's perfect. Okay. So everyone wants to say, well, the monogamy family is not perfect. Okay, so what's your point? What's the point? It's not perfect. You want to make what? This better idea? All this attachment disorder, you see all these kids picking their skin with anxiety disorders. So they say, well, it's because maybe the family argued or this or that. Yeah, maybe. A lot of kids want parents. Adults who didn't have parents want parents. Right? They do. When you talk to them, they do. They want their parents. So is this some attempt to browbeat people because, they had a marriage that fell apart? No. But what value is being held up? Anything's okay. And we're going to be and you can just decide to be polyamorous and love who. Oh, just a minute. Just a second.
Okay.
I don't know how to mute this. What?
Just
Just a minute. Just a second.
I think I can do it for you.
What did you want to say?
Show me your phone real quick. I'm just going to show you. It's really.
Oh, did you mute me? Okay. Well,
I'll try and do it.
wait a minute.
Yeah, she's done it.
Okay, I just had an injection from somebody here. All right, a younger person in society. It's maybe more closer to this guy. And what she just said to me, I was just really shocked. All right, and I don't know if I should say it over the air, but what she said is basically nobody wants a parent who's a polyamorous slutbag. Okay, okay. That's what she just said to me, and she's in her 30s. Nobody likes instability in the family on any level. Children don't like it, young people. And when they become adults and they look around, they start really realizing, well, this stability was a little bit better than some of this other stuff I'm seeing, even if they don't like it.
Yes.
She says nobody wishes their parents. Yeah, I don't think, she doesn't need to get in this conversation, but that was her idea. That was her idea. And the kids aren't exactly thrilled. It doesn't matter if the kids particularly like it. I mean, if you're going to be sick or something, and sometimes you have some medicine that's kind of, oh, well, it's not as fun as another medicine, right? Like maybe you like the medicine that makes you high better. Maybe you like that one better, right? But the doctor says, no, you have to have this more conservative medicine because you're going to end up with bigger disease later. And that's what's going on in society. Okay, we can't promote these lifestyles on the same level as we're promoting a traditional marriage. It's not going to last. It's not going to go on. The thinking is going to keep evolving into something else, in control of other people. He's already gone from the Vincent. If you think about it, he went from the idea two parents are controlling, now the whole family. Okay, now the whole family is going to decide if they have children. How about the two people deciding? Making a decision themselves if they're going to have a child or not. But now already he's got more people involved in it. And that's going to evolve into the state telling you how to have kids. The state's going to tell you, we have more say over your children than you do. That's where this is all going to end up. And it's already ending up that way. You understand? I don't want the state coming in and taking away my parental authority. It's almost taking it totally away. It's almost, I mean, not me personally, but it's almost gone. It's gone to the point we can't even go up and say what we want in school because we're being told, oh, well, you're not being nice because this guy, this 10-year-old kind of feels like they're being gay, so they need to know that they're accepted in society. No, everybody doesn't need to know this at such an early age. They don't need to, it doesn't need to be presented in this way. The school provides stability by keeping the students from being aggressive on each other. That's how the school provides it. And by showing this model of marriage, expounding on it, talking about why it's good, talking about how this is true American culture, this idea, because that's how we built this country, right? This is what needs to be done because we don't want a bunch of adults with a reactive attachment disorder. Yesterday, I went to a car wash. Okay? I went to a car wash with my husband. And he missed this whole scene, and it went on right behind him because he was bent over vacuuming his car, right, after we'd gone through the car wash. So we're standing there, and this guy comes in with, in a car, and just stops in the middle, like you're supposed to drive through and then get in these lines into the car wash, right? So he just stops in the middle. And so this other car comes zooming up behind him. These two ladies come zooming up behind him. And they can't, you can't get around him. He's just sitting there yakking on his phone, right? So it's their way. They honk their horn real loud. They were acting a little aggressive there. They honk their horn real loud. So he kind of waves his hands. Then they wave their hands at him, right, in the cars. What do you think this guy did? Did he move his car over? Just, okay, I'm going to put in a parking space now and finish my phone. What do you think this guy did?
He took his gun out. I don't know.
He leaped out of the car for the hood of the car and tried to kick their windshield in.
Wow.
Right? And my husband heard the banging, but he didn't look because we're kind of in an area that was real nosy with banging. This guy didn't say a word. This is an attachment disorder. This is a total non-attachment to society. Right. So people want to say,
it doesn't matter what I do because
it doesn't matter what I do. He's not attached to society. He's attached to his own emotion constantly. This guy, obviously, right? And so this behavior apparently is very common now. I guess after this COVID lockdown, everyone got even crazier. But that's an attachment disorder. I believe that's what I believe. I've never read this anywhere or anything, but that's what I believe. I believe there's an attachment disorder with society, and this constant, all these fragmentations of society norms are so fluid. Nobody even knows what they are anymore, and people, it's awful. It's horrible. But that's no way I believe. Now that guy, he might have. He had, it's one or two things. Either he had no father in the home, or he's on drugs, right? So I don't think anything that promotes instability needs to be
encouraged.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be encouraged. Now, obviously there's going to be deviations from the stability because humans are going to deviate, but we're not going to promote it. Okay, there's no purpose to promote polyamorous.
Yeah, because people already kind of want to stray, even those who are happily married to each other, because obviously everybody's going to find somebody more attractive than the spouse they're married
Well,
to.
okay, so and then they're going to leave their kid over that, or they're just going to make a
Well,
kid
they
that they
should
have
know
no
that if
intention
they
of being
do,
around.
they'd be disgraced.
Oh, you're talking about this as implement. Well, I think since the schools and the media changed the thinking to this, they can do a lot to change it back. Right? They need to be at service to this idea. That's you know, it's one thing to think people can do whatever they want. It's something else to promote everything on a level playing field, because it's not level.
But it doesn't
It's
even make sense for them. If you're the government, even if you think these things don't affect you, eventually you're going to be a victim of crime. Because there'll be so many angry criminal people who can't stand you, driving around in your luxury car, buying your luxury goods with your luxury watch that they're going to steal and rob you of. So it doesn't even make sense, even if you're, a member of the elite. So, what is this? I mean, it is a form of dementia that you can't get a response when you ask these questions. It's almost
you're not getting an honest response.
catatonic.
So they're now, you got politicians now who are selling out for a vote to promote this idea. I do not believe that someone as old as Biden normally would think all this stuff is okay. All right,
Well,
so
he's
either they got
suffering from
something on him.
dementia.
Well, yeah, he's a bad example. Yeah, he may not even know who he is today. I don't know. But that turns into like a different thing. I was just talking about his age, to not see that there's a serious problem going around, because you see the decay, because you've seen what before wasn't decay. Now you want to change the things that were bad, like we don't want. Oh yeah, Jim Crow was bad, right? Well, white people created that, and then it was white people that decided to quit. I mean, it was, slavery was in the United States, and white people actually fought a war to get rid of it, right? That's a mythology, or that's a political idea that's being promoted. I think part of it was just a big fight over state rights and keeping their money in the state, but there was this fight. So there is a progression in thought, but it's not a progression in thought to promote ideas that undermine the stability of the family unit, because the family unit, if left on, how do I put it, left alone, if it's left alone, it's more stable than these alternatives everybody's talking about, right?
But feminism has undermined the whole structure, and now people are denying their part in.
They made a mistake.
Yeah, they could just say, "Well, I didn't."
People can admit they made a mistake.
Oh. And that is what, and I think what we may need to discuss is that it is the party system that caused this sort of crazy competition between the two different parties to get votes. Because, other than, promising more spending would be, oh, we're going to protect you from your stupidity kind of thing. And that maybe starts off with the best of intentions, but eventually leads to a totalitarian state.
But yeah, my problem with all that is that because community has been broken, I mean, I've told you this before, has broken down so far. The community is really how you're going to address government. It's some form of community. An individual can't go up against government. And if you get rid of political parties, there is going to be no community that can do too much of anything.
I mean, I don't see why communities would disappear, because, I mean, people would still want to gather, with each other if they have common interests. They would still need community.
But it's not a stable community. That wouldn't be a stable community. Do you understand? The communities are so unstable now. You're going to form a little party for a specific purpose, then you get what you want, and then it disbands. We need more stable community than that. And so if marriage is made to be is encouraged and stuff, and people can be made to see the value of that, and they stay in it, and they're not so frivolous that they're talking all the time about their sex. A lot of the stuff he was saying, straight guy could say the same thing, right? It's really a really saying, I just can't make that sort of commitment. Well, people who can create outstanding society.
Yeah, and if the government praises the people who do privilege married parents over non-parents and stigmatize those who have failed marriages, people will sort of, get the idea. It's very simple, really. Some people might call it harsh, but maybe that's what it takes to make people follow the rules.
Well, if the media did it so easily this way, I think they can do it the other way. Right?
Exactly. So, really, the battle is winnable. We just need people to understand what it really is literally a flick of the switch, because the media could just easily, reverse gear all that they've been saying and saying, we made a mistake, let's correct it, blah, blah,
and
blah.
these little economic things the government gives out, right? Oh, you can give it. You're gonna encourage. You're making it economic. All right, somebody gets married. They get married. They're going to lose economic and their personal wealth, right? You're going to lose money. Now, the government is going to give a bunch of handouts to people who broke up their marriages, right? The marriages are broke up, and now it becomes an incentive to break the marriage up because it's going to financially help you if you do it. That's wrong.
So the whole idea, that's another sacred cow, the welfare state.
Okay, but in Islam, if somebody gets sick, right? Somebody gets real sick. Let's say the man gets sick, and stuff. Debt is his. If he's running up debt, it's his. The woman can keep the house. They can keep their house. You got people getting sick, getting divorces because somebody got sick, right? And this is real. This is something that's real that goes on. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then everyone says, okay, the Obamacare thing. Well, yeah, you have to be. It might say, okay, you're going to do that. You're going to sign up for this Obamacare. Let's say, everybody lost their job and they got to go apply for, what is it? Medi-Cal or whatever, right? The free stuff. You're going to apply for that. When you're 55, I think it's 55 or older, if you get any kind of a government handout like this, like the free medical, or if you get food stamps or all that stuff, it becomes a lien on your estate. So when there's no way you could possibly ever pay it back because you got too old to ever pay anything back, it becomes a lien on your house. Mm. This is against the family. This kind of a law is against promoting the family. Because somebody needs a financial incentive to get married. They need lower taxes if they get married, right? They need lower taxes, not be kind of like punished for being married and then at the same time saying, well, yeah, this is good. And it doesn't make any sense. Some of this stuff is actually economic decision people make, and they plan their life around, okay, you have the kid, you can go get some welfare for so many years, and then I can go through school. People actually talk like this, right? I told you there's people telling their children, the kid's getting around 18. Well, I think if you get on a low-income housing list, you can get an apartment. I'm not making this up as an exaggeration. These are real conversations people have with their children.
I think there have been long-term. Hey guys, how are you? Gals, how are you?
Hi.
Hey,
who's this?
Sam from. Yeah.
Oh, here I see. Okay, I fixed my phone so I can see.
I grew up in Brooklyn. I'll tell you this: I agree. There are a lot of disincentives to getting married and living a married life in America, anywhere in America, except for maybe country towns where you got like simple people that like to live simply. Maybe I'm thinking pastoral. Farmers, ranchers, old-fashioned types of people, or maybe people that are well off, and the people that are well off always have more confidence when it comes to having children and building families.
Are you in England?
No, I'm not in
Oh,
England. I'm in Haifa, in Israel. Yeah, so
oh, Israel. Okay.
we spoke before.
Oh, we
We
did.
spoke
Okay.
before, yeah,
I'm
but
just learning. I'm just meeting all of Claire's friends. I
no, I
kind of don't
talked to you
remember.
on I think on John's channel or somewhere. I'm sure we talked before.
Okay.
But in America, it's a deliberate, premeditated, multi-decade long, a deliberate agenda to disincentivize marriage
Absolutely.
and to incentivize fornication and promiscuity
Yeah.
and
Now, why would it? Think about. Okay.
and
I know.
masturbation.
Oh, okay. Well, why would this help government to be encouraging that?
They don't want more people. They are depopulationists. They are. This is not conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact.
They
In
don't
America,
want.
they do not want prosperity. They want top down control. They want centralized
No,
control.
that's right. That's
And
right.
so
So they want instability among the people, so they can't go against government. When did this? When did this really go full hog in the United States?
they want to. I think they want to marginalize the middle class, so there's no upward mobility. It is like an old fashioned European feudalism and classism.
Turning into that, yeah.
And to the point where they don't want to allow what Americans used to enjoy for the longest time, which was upward mobility, opportunity, an ability to be independent business people and to build their own sort of like fiefdoms.
Yeah.
So the corporations hand in hand with the oligarchs and old money and very insidious, corrupt politicians. They implemented a plan. I think it began. It felt like it began more in the 90s with globalization, in the mid 90s, in the time of Bill Clinton, when he sold America down the river to globalism, and to when he sold when he basically was bought out by the Rockefellers and by China, and he implemented all of those globalist policies. That's when it happened. That's when it began truly, and all the insidious sort of agendas began taking form more in the 2000s with the Patriot Act and all of the overreach of the government, and it started stifling. America started feeling very stifling. That's when I left. I wanted to leave after 9/11. I felt so betrayed. I felt to say that I knew that was a big hoax. That was not a hoax, but a false flag. It was obvious from the get-go with Building 7. I mean, I was traumatized. I saw that a lot of that happen with my own eyes,
Mm-hmm.
And in New York, I was a cab driver at the time, and I was driving night shift. I came back home to Brooklyn. My brother was off in downtown working in that same area. He called me on the phone, woke me up, said, "Open the TV." I saw it all happen with my own eyes down the avenue where I lived on Ocean Avenue. I saw the smoke off it, and the debris and the smoke. It hit every part of the city. It was like 360 degrees. The wind made sure that the dust from the collapse of those buildings reached every corner of the city. And we were hacking our lungs out for 2-3 weeks, with all of that, the dust that it kicked up once the towers collapsed and Building 7 collapsed. But it was immediately suspicious. And no matter how traumatizing it was, and no matter how sensational it was, people immediately had questions. They said, how in the hell did Building 7 collapse in on its own footprint when no planes collided with that building? It's a massive building, and it collapsed in on its own footprint as though it was demolished. And you had the firefighters in the latter part of the day, in the late afternoon, saying that building was going to go down, and it had nothing to do with the World Trade Center collapsing. That building was blocks away. It was blocks away from the World Trade Center and the buildings that had collapsed, the two towers that had collapsed, and that was super ultra suspicious. And then you have the firefighters saying that they saw the whole building rigged for demolition. A lot of the firefighter chiefs saw that said that there were explosions that they heard inside the building when they were outside the building, and it was coordinated and premeditated, and they had that whole thing ready to go. It was one big production. And the BBC, while it was broadcasting from one of the towers in Midtown facing downtown, it was a BBC broadcaster saying that Building 7 had collapsed, and over her right shoulder, the building is still standing. All right?
I'm sorry, the clicking's because my phone's running out of juice again, and it doesn't work if I don't have headphones in. I have to use the same plug.
Oh, no problem. But I'm just saying that episode was when I felt that it was like when you were asking when did it really kick in America. It kicked in right after 9/11. It
kicked in after the civil rights movement, and all these hippies went against the Vietnam War. That's the Vietnam War. The government started promoting instability because they were shocked that people got this mobilized.
No, well, it wasn't just the counterculture in the '60s. And by the way, the whole entire Vietnam War was something that JFK was against, and he was taken out, assassinated because he was against the agenda of the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. And what was really hiding behind the agenda of the Vietnam War was strengthening the standing of the dollar as the world reserve currency. It was more of a plot. It was again a conspiracy. That part of the Vietnam War, or the Vietnam War, was more about not just fighting the Cold War and fighting communism, but it was setting the stage and making sure that the dollar continued to function as the world reserve currency. They had long-term plans. Vietnam was not some.
I'm talking about in society and stuff. When this changed was after that, and that's when government started promoting instability.
Well, that's when you had Johnson's Great Society, and you had a lot more welfare and a lot more socialism and a lot more handouts and a lot less incentive to want to be independent and to be sort of like self-reliant. And to be proactive in working. He created all the disincentives to being, having a work ethic and working for a living with instead of giving people an education or giving them a skill or a vocation, he gave them handouts. And the worst thing you can do to a person is give them welfare and handouts and unemployment. That's what creates the projects, the mentality. That's what creates the hood rats that prefer to suck on the tit of the government and not work. But then you get people that actually do want to earn a living and they do want to be sort of have self-respect, so they go join the military. You have a lot of people from the inner city and from the supposed minority racial groups. A lot of those are the ones that pack the military. I was in the U.S. Army for 3 years. The majority of the people in the military are low middle class, Hispanics, blacks, and poor white people. But the majority are from the lower classes. And that what happens is they try to find a way to earn a living and still have some self-respect without taking it.
It's their ticket out of Dodge, basically.
Yeah, that's what I took that ticket out. I paid my college loans through the military.
Yeah.
And, New York City, when I came back to it, after the military, and then 9/11 happened, that's when I felt that everything was that's when everything started rolling downhill. That's when everything's really, as far as government really overstepping and taking away people's personal liberties and actually, surveillance and monitoring the citizenry and making everything feel stifled and less free. That's when I felt America was really in a downward spiral. I can agree with you that in the 60s, the counterculture began it, and they had good motives and good intentions of having a more fair society, less racist society, and the liberals of
Well,
that.
all that,
Yeah.
all that anti-Vietnam stuff actually didn't happen until some people in Congress or stuff. People did start talking about ending the war, but
It wasn't
anyway,
it was an unjust war. Vietnam was an unjust war. It was a war of politics, and it was a war of economics.
I remember this war. Okay, I remember all this. But how do you want? Don't you think a stable family would do a lot for the country as a way to interfere? I mean, if we had a lot more stable families here, wouldn't we have a much bigger block of people to push back on the government here? Because
Absolutely, yeah, because everybody takes handouts. There's too much dependency on government handouts. That's why nobody fights. That's why nobody speaks. Nobody takes an interest. Nobody speaks out because they're too dependent on government handouts. You're not going to bite. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. That's what's happening. And I agree with you that that's what's really wrong. That's what's really wrong in America.
Okay, so
I mean, if you want to turn, if people want to turn that around, they have to be brave enough to speak out and coordinate, or sort of like not just coordinate. It was like when you have
Oh, you know what? I do want to talk to you and stuff, but my phone, it's going out. I think it's just going to be into a big click fest on.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, but yeah.
No.
I mean, I'm agreeing a lot with what you're saying. I'm just saying that if we want to turn it around, though, we have to at least start somewhere.
Well, I was speaking to John and a friend of ours just about an hour ago, and I said the same thing as far as my advice and my recommendations is that the majority of the the silent majority that doesn't believe in progressivism and leftism and the gay agenda and all the sickness that comes along with it should be brave enough, and they should grow a backbone, and they should gather and organize and form enough groups and organizations that are loud enough and powerful enough. They should have their own political lobbies. And the problem is the silent majority doesn't have enough lobbyists or representation. That's what they should do. They should make I mean, Trump gave a lot of those people a sort of like enthusiasm, or sort of like he gave them confidence. He gave them support. He gave them a voice. The populism, the silent majority, the people that don't want to go down the road of perversion and so-called progressivism. That should end. I mean, if Trump was gotten rid of, and he was the cheerleader, he was the head figure, the figurehead. The silent majority in America needs to find another way to organize and speak out.
How great an organization are they going to be if they're coming from a foundation that didn't even have loyalty to their own preservation of their DNA through a monogamous marriage?
Well, I don't know if. Well, the question is, how many? What is the percentage of the people within the middle classes that are if not self-destructive, but willing to be so passive and indifferent, and to allow themselves to be swept away into this self-destruction, and people realize that they're being destroyed, and they have no, like you said, no self-preservation. It's like because they lost their figurehead. They need a figurehead like Trump, because they relied so much on a figurehead like Trump. His charisma and his attitude and his chutzpah and his arrogance. This was what the average American wanted to do themselves, but didn't have the courage to do. They felt so intimidated. They felt so guilt tripped. They felt honestly stifled by the culture and by the liberal mentality that from coming from the big cities.
I
You know.
don't mean to interrupt. The noise is so bad on my end. I can't even understand one word anyone's saying. I have to hang the phone up.
All right. No, I think Claire understood what I was saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Nice
understood.
to talk to you again, Sam. I'm
All
sorry.
right. No problem.
Thanks, Carol.
Bye, Claire.
Bye-bye.
Well, it's like I'm speaking from the heart because I experienced this. I lived this in Brooklyn, New York, and in America. I made an effort. I worked a middle class, blue collar job, and I made an effort, and I saw that it was pointless. I honestly felt it was pointless. It's like everything, like you said, Claire, and I take your side on this. Everything is like you said, a matriarchy. It's geared toward placating women over men. And that was done deliberately, also to stifle the growth of families and having masculine men actually be providers and defenders and guardians. That once and it's a long explanation that even Alex Jones has given, that it was deliberately done to weaken America and weaken its ability to function as a safe and stable society, because the men were weakened. The men were were also, because it's also all the pornography and fornication and this easy sex and all this. It disincentivizes marriage and having children in America.
If it disincentivizes marriage, disincentivizes the effort that
You're
men
right.
used to do to acquire the thing that would make them, eligible bachelors and desirable husbands.
Right.
So,
I agree fully. I agree.
and I don't think it matters whether it was deliberately done or
It
accidentally
was.
done.
No,
The
no,
point
no,
is
it
that
was.
they won't admit it was a mistake. Even now, they won't admit it was a
It
mistake.
was social engineering, and it was done deliberately. It was deliberate.
Well, I suppose you could say that, but I guess with every declining empire, it always begins with a lowering of standards of sexual morality. It's
Right.
like we're so powerful, we could get away with it for a few generations, and then you realize, the people that you're complaining about are the majority now, and you're too
Yeah.
afraid to, alienate them, and this is how it happened.
Great.
It happened in
I
the
have,
Roman
I have to compliment you, Claire. Your powers of perception are very acute and very sharp, and you have a way of putting it into words. You communicate in such a way that when you speak, I feel it, I remember it, I recollect it. There is an element of this in Israel because we are a Western country and we imitate Europe and America. But it's not, I mean, honestly, it's bad here. It's really bad, but it's worse in Europe and in America. Why? Because we have a lot of religious people here. So there's still some sort of a flavor of normalcy, despite the fact that this, what you described, has infiltrated the social fabric of this country as well. I feel it less here. But when you describe it in the words you put it in, it comes back to me. It's like, it's not nostalgic. I actually feel it. I taste it. I remember it, and I recollect it. And I say to myself, "Thank God, that's why I'm no longer there." But we have this happening here as well. It's taking us down as well. I mean,
you operate the same political system. You're going to be having a fifth election soon, won't you?
Hopefully. But yeah, we're sick and tired of this government. But even people here, men and women, of marrying in the age of eligible for marriage, marrying age, they're all making these points as well. That there's so much working against them to keep them from being married or getting married. Whether it's the sick culture, the people are tuning out of the popular culture here. A lot of people, and they're not just religious. They're not religious or they're traditional or conservative. They're tuning out. They don't want the culture of the West anymore. They don't want the movies. A lot of them are just choosing to focus on periods of time in America where it was optimistic. Even in America, it was even in America now. People that are nostalgic and have a feeling, a yearning, a longing for the good times. They go back to 70s and 80s music, 70s and 80s movies. It was a time of optimism. That's what they want, that nostalgic feeling to come back. They don't want this time period. They don't want the culture of this time. It's totally deviant. It's degenerate. It's depressing as well. People are rejecting it, even from the younger generations. They don't like it. They don't like this. They don't like the music. They don't like the culture. They don't like the movies. It's like they all have a yearning for a time that was more positive. And I'm talking about younger people that I'm talking to from America, in Michigan, and they're in their mid-20s and late 20s, and they say, well, we envy you. You enjoyed the best of America. Your like my age group, in our 40s and
You
late.
remembered how it was in the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like we're old school, and we're considered old school, and like I'm in my late 40s now, and I'm considered old school.
Yeah.
Man, that's like a kick in the pants. Like the generation gap is finally for us. It's like, holy shit, that thing is really like the coin is flipped. It's like I'm now the opposite side of the coin. I'm not the young guy talking about the generational gap between me and the baby boomers. I'm like the Generation X that has a generational gap between the millennials and the Generation Z. But
Yeah.
But still, it's just normal that there would be such change. It's not normal, but it's like this cycle, like you said, of the decline of empire. It's just when you put it into the words you put it into, it seems more acceptable that the analysis that you provide, it just seems more, well, that makes sense. It's sensible that we're in the late stages of the decline of empire. The Western Empire is declining. I mean, when America took the baton from the British, and it actually amalgamated. It's the Anglo-American Empire, so it's like a mixture. America took the baton, but it also melded into the British Empire, and it became a fusion of the two. And that's coming to an end now. That. So,
I don't know if you follow what Dugin says. You're talking about empires, because he has a particular theory of land and sea empires, and
right. No, I'm familiar with that from the Duran. They talked about this as well. They talked about in these terms as well, sea empires and land empires. What?
Carthage and Rome.
Right.
Carthage being the marine empire that Rome destroyed, and kind of implying that's what he hopes to do, and also the idea that marine empires suddenly rise, but just as suddenly disappear because it's unstable, and this is something Carol was talking about, because it's kind of running on margin. In a way, you just control the sea lanes, and then you control, everybody's, transport and everything, and then
but having that apparatus in place is for the sake of defending the financial apparatus, which is the debt-based currencies, the fiat currencies, the debt-based system. So it's like having control of the sea lanes and of trading routes, and that all goes hand in hand with maintaining a debt-based, a currency and an economy based on what you said, on margin. That it does eventually, burn itself out, and so just by the natural forces dragging it down. It's not that some people.
Because usually it's so harmful in that it's a behavioural addiction. People don't, because somebody, they say it's unethical. You shouldn't be able to create money out of nothing. And the thing is, when you do, you get hooked on it. It's like, well, just keep creating more money. And this is basically what's happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's like it reaches ahead now, and this is, but to be honest, we've never been here before. There have been similar empires that have collapsed in similar ways, but not such in such an intricate global interwoven sort of a process as we're going through now, because this is global. This is not. I mean, you could say the Dutch and the Portuguese, to a certain extent, they had their excuse me, episodes when they had their like, for example, the tulip mania in the Dutch markets. It's like similarities here and there, but this is considered very small in comparison to what we're experiencing now. It's in terms of the how would I phrase it? The scale of what had happened in previous empires compared to what's happening now is tremendously skewed, because what the Anglo-American debt-based economy and fiat currency-based monetary system managed to do was to involve all the countries of the world to basically create interdependencies and to create such a complex interweaving of dependencies that the whole world is involved in it. Nobody is free from what they manage to
what you just said, it's like China, it holds so many dollar assets. I mean, it could be completely ruthless and say, right, tomorrow we're going to dump all our dollar assets, and America would be on its knees.
It would.
Imagine it, but they're too scared to do it because they have skin in the game, and they don't want people upset with them.
Right.
Investors. But
they'll use that nuclear. They'll use that nuclear option. The Chinese will use that nuclear option if the West sanctions them as they did the Russians. So the Chinese Communist Party has already wargamed this, that if they go ahead and invade Taiwan, or if they do something to invite the ire of the British and the Americans and of the Europeans, whereby they are under sanctions, they will employ that financial nuclear option. It's available to them. That card, that option is available to them, and they've threatened it in a not so subtle way by saying that we have countermeasures to your sanctions. Unlike what the Russians, I think the Russians war gamed this with the Chinese. They actually long-term war gamed Ukraine and the West's reactions, and basically getting the West to be occupied with Ukraine and less occupied with the South Pacific. But now I think the Western powers are beginning to organize and look more towards China and Taiwan, and they have their hidden objectives and goals in starting a conflict there. They'll use that as cover. They need to cover their asses. They need some sort of event as a smokescreen, and they have plenty of options. What they'll choose, only God knows. But it seems like they're going in the direction of provoking China into doing exactly what you just stated, selling all of their dollar holdings and creating a major inflationary sort of surge in America, because it's already out of control. They can't get it back under their control. They can't raise interest rates high enough to, and if they do, they'll destroy the stock markets in favor of trying to protect the dollar and protect the bond markets by raising interest rates too high. It's a fine line. They're walking a fine line. It's a balancing act for them. But all the analysts are saying that it's really no longer in their hands. It's no longer under their control. So We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of speculation that because of this, they're instigating war. Like, let's take it to the microcosm as compared to the bigger picture of global warfare. Look at Turkey. Turkey is now provoking a war in Cyprus or against Greece. You know, because Turkey is already so indebted that they have like over 50% inflation, if not more, and they're in crisis mode. So Erdogan is. I read the articles on Zero Hedge. Is picking a fight with Greece and with Cyprus. I think he's meaning to use it as a distraction and as a diversion. I'll find the article here. U.S. wants Turkey. U.S. warns Turkey over putting American forces at risk in new Syria offense, and so they're getting involved in Syria as well. And they've got such economic problems in Turkey that they might have another uprising and a revolt against Erdogan. The last I saw this article, here it is. Yeah. Erdogan blasts Greek prime minister for lobbying U.S. against Turkey F-16 sales. And so Erdogan was referring to the Greek prime minister, and he said this quote, "There's no longer anyone called Mitsotakis in my book." So he's like, he's spurning the Greek government and the Greek prime minister. And these two countries have already had conflicts going back a long time. So
can you post the link in the chat?
Yeah, no problem. I will. Just give me a second. I will. Just give me a second. So this is a microcosm of what is happening with the larger powers. All right,
well, it sounds like Turkey's beginning to defy the West, because I mean, there's a British naval. Is it British, or I think it's a British naval base in Cyprus.
In Cyprus, yeah, in Limassol. I was there.
Yeah,
I drove there on a scooter. I drove to the Air Force Base. I was driving around the island, just like looking for the best beaches and everything. I rented a scooter, so I came upon that British Air Force Base, and I drove up to the checkpoint, the security checkpoint. They wouldn't let me go any further. They said, "Turn around, go back where you came from." I just went to see it, just like come approach it and see what it was all about. But it's in a very nice scenic setting there in Cyprus.
No, it is. I remember looking down from it on a hill.
Yeah. But they have access to the Middle East from there. They did a lot of their bombings in Syria and in Iraq via Cyprus, and also Incirlik. And the Americans have a base in Turkey called Incirlik. And so it's I'll tell you that's what's happening. You could take Turkey as an example of what is going to basically happen in the bigger picture. They're desperate. You could post that article. Turkey is desperate. Their financial situation. They're in financial dire straits, and Erdogan is looking to start a war. All right, as a diversion, as a distraction, and the same goes for Biden, and the same goes for most of Europe. And that's basically where we stand. They're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion of what's happening.
And what I suppose the only way to well, I don't know. I mean, you go the wrong way, then the rational thing to do would be to stop before going back where you came from, or going a different way, hoping you don't just sort of carry on. I mean, and the least you can do is just stop. If you don't know where you are.
Well, the positive side of it is that we're living in the information age, and enough people are informed enough to realize that this is really what's happening. It can no longer be done in the dark. It can no longer be done in the shadows. The information age has allowed us access to things that we would never have had access to before. This information is critical, and people are rejecting the plans for global world nuclear conflict, whatever. They're open. They say it's like, we're not suicidal. We don't want to die. And we're not good. We obviously don't want that goofball, half-wit, dementia-ridden pedo starting a nuclear war. That's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. You know.
Well, I suppose the only reason why he's allowed to be the president is because, all the people hiding behind him and doing the stuff they want to do under his cover
Yeah.
want him there. What did you think of his speech after the shooting in Texas?
Oh man, I mean, it's like every word is it's agonizing to listen to. Any word that comes out of that fool's mouth is agonizing to listen to. But I found the name of the base. It's RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus.
Oh yes, J. Walker posted it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, you were in the military. I've been trying to explain to people why patriarchy is, it reflects the structure of a military, because the whole way it's run means that if somebody doesn't follow orders or doesn't pass on orders, you can identify the weakest link, so you know where to go about where the problem started. And I think our current system, which pretends that we are all equal, so nobody really knows who's in charge, is the problem, because then we can't go to the person in charge and say, look, you got to do things differently, it's got to stop or whatever, because there's no point going to Biden to complain, because he wouldn't be able to do anything,
Right.
So
he's a pretend president. He's a farce. He's not a real representative of the people. He's an implant. You can't ask him to do anything for you or for the people.
You can't ask Boris to do. I mean, I don't think you could ask any of the European, leaders. I mean, do you think you could ask the same of the Israeli president?
We don't like nobody here. We have a lot of issues with our current government. Nobody likes our current prime minister at all. Nobody. And as far as our planning to attack Lebanon and start another war with Lebanon, it's not going to happen unless we are provoked into it. We're not going to do a preemptive invasion or attack on southern Lebanon. Nobody here in this country supports that or wants that. We are preparing for every eventuality of the Hezbollah, under orders from Iran, decides to activate, if the Iranians decide to activate Hezbollah. That's what we're preparing for. Okay, and the next round of conflict will be devastating for Lebanon. And we won't hold back. I lived through the Second Lebanon War in 2006. Israel held back. So our military leaders are far more competent than our political leaders. The next time we have an exchange with the Hezbollah, we're going to fuck them up so bad that they won't know what hit them. And we won't go in there with land forces. We're going to devastate them from the sea and from the air. And that's what we're planning for,
So what do you think of
you and your occupation? You're all going to be gone soon. So, yeah, take that occupation crap and shove it up your ass.
I don't really know what it's all about, but what would you say that was about? The Second Lebanon War.
I was in Haifa during the Second Lebanon War. It was in 2006, and we were under fire for about a month, more or less, under Katyusha and Grad missile fire, rocket fire. The north of Israel was bombarded, and we didn't have the the Arrow defense system, and we didn't have the David Sling, and we didn't have the Iron Dome. We have far many more countermeasures to deal with missiles and rockets that we didn't have back in 2006. So
what was it about?
Oh, the Hezbollah actually instigated it. There was a patrol, a security patrol, routine security patrol along the border between Israel and Lebanon, and they were ambushed, and soldiers were taken prisoner, but they were actually dead. Their bodies were taken from the vehicles that were destroyed by anti-tank missiles, and that's what sparked off the war. Then the forces went to try to rescue them, and they got hit, and it escalated into a full-blown war. And that's when it was very, very bitter, very, very I'd say cruel, because at the end of the war, a lot of the people anticipated that those soldiers that were captured were alive, but they actually were killed instantly, and only parts of their bodies were taken. So when the war ended and there was a ceasefire, there was an exchange of prisoners, an exchange of bodies, and the Hezbollah people, that's how cruel they are. They created this a false expectation that those troops were taken prisoner alive when they were just their bodies were just blown to bits, and they took parts of their bodies back. And that's what they bartered with. That's what they negotiated with. These are barbarism. These are barbaric types of people. If you've seen pictures of the Syrians and their crack special forces people, or in Iran, what they do is they have parades, military parades, and they take live snakes and in front of the ayatollahs or in front of I think it was also Assad. They do this ritual where they take live snakes, big ones, and they basically, with their bare hands, pry open the mouth of the snake, and they tear it into pieces. They tear the snake in two, and while the snake is still alive and wriggling and his death throes, they start eating on the snake. It's just barbarism. It's sickness and barbarism, and these are supposed to be.
Who does that? I'm sorry, I had to.
I've seen the military parades in Syria and Damascus where this was done. They're supposedly their best, most special forces troops that are most, I'd say, brutalized and made barbaric. And these are supposed to be Muslims as well. But they take these snakes, they tear them in two, and in front of everybody in the military parade, they start chewing down on the snake while he's still alive. And that's against the Noahide laws, by the way. I've seen that. I'm not making that up. I've seen that, and that was done also in Iran. And sickness. When it comes to the tactics that they lower themselves to, barbarism. It was barbaric. So the end result of the Second Lebanon War was that Lebanon was devastated. Beirut was devastated. Their infrastructure was devastated. A lot of their civilians were killed by the bombing. A lot of our civilians were killed. And it set a precedent that missiles and rockets, long-range and mid-range rockets, could be used. And that's why Israel started developing more missile interception technology. And now that we've got this missile interception technology, if they start another round with us, we're going to fuck them up beyond all recognition. We're going to ruin their day. We're going to ruin their day. And if any of the Arabs here in Israel try any shit against us while we're conducting a war in Lebanon, they've got another thing coming. If they try to create an insurrection here or some sort of a uprising here in the middle of a war when we're preoccupied with fighting Lebanon and Hezbollah, if the Arab Israelis or the Palestinians here start an uprising and an insurrection, we're going to fuck up your day as well. Don't think we're suckers. We're not suckers. You got that, Miss Palestinian there? Occupation bitch. All right. That's basically the story.
All right. She wants to talk to you now. Okay. I'll post that link in.
I'm not interested in talking to the Palestinian woman, honestly. I'm not in the mood to talk to someone like that. No.
All right.
Yeah.
But for most people, we're all a bit vague about these wars.
Uh-huh.
Like the
We
first.
are fighting in Israel. We're fighting a war of self-preservation and survival, and for our rights as a Jewish state. And if we get into the history of it, you interviewed Joseph Atwell. We know what Christianity is about. We know what Islam adopted from Christianity. And the claims of both Christianity and Islam to our ancestral homeland are null and void. You can forget about them. All right. The history has proven itself to be true. Your false reinterpretation or of our history, or what's called give me the right name, Claire, for when revisionism, historical revisionism. I'd say Christianity is historical revisionism. I'd say that the fact that Islam adopted Jesus and the history of Christianity into it is historical revisionism. This is the historical homeland of the Jewish people for thousands of years, and your historical revisionism, calling it occupation, it no longer holds any weight. Not with any decent, honest, intellectual person that observes, historical truths and facts. You will be on your.
The borders of Israel is defined in the Torah, isn't it?
It is. And the fact that occupation woman has a chip on her shoulder and she still wants to use these tropes and these give me a good word for it when you have like these not like the grudge, the arguments,
Grievance.
The grievance. Thank you very much, Claire. I'll give credit to the British for having more control of the English language and having the words at the ready. The vocabulary is there ready to whenever you want to pull the word out there, you got it. Very good. I have to give credit to the British with the English language. They have more control of the English language than Americans do.
But, to remember the words.
Yeah. Oh, you happen to remember the words better than most Americans do. But the grievances, the grievances. Yeah, we've endured this. It will soon end. Okay, she can laugh and mock all she wants. She can call me as crazy or insane. The story will end very soon, and you can do your best, and you can try us. We are on the verge of a major shift in history. And she knows exactly who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. All right, she can.
Everybody seems to think the world is about to end, and this includes Christians and Muslims as well as.
Yeah, well, it's their world. Their world is about to end. Their falsehoods and their grievances will all be nullified, and it's being nullified, and they will have to endure the harsh truth and the painful truth that the Jewish people have a right to all of the land of Israel, okay? And if they keep on griping and grudging and being begrudging and having all the grievances they have, it will be dealt with the hard way by the hand of God and by the way of messianic revelation and the final redemption. It will be God himself personally that will evict them from this land. And they can laugh and mock and joke and do all they want, and it won't help them. She can say whatever she wants. And the Muslims, a lot of the Muslims in Israel knows this. Even the Palestinian Arabs know this. They have access to demonic forces. They conduct all sorts of rituals. They are in league with all sorts of demonic forces that actually tell them their time is up. We are upon messianic revelation. A lot of the I'm not putting down all of Islam, but there are people in Israel here, whether they're Bedouins or Arabs or what have you, that do conduct all sorts of black magic rituals where they actually interact with their archangel or demonic forces, and they are in communication with these powers, with these forces, and those forces themselves are telling these Arabs that their time is up here, that we have reached the end.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Through my Rabbi Nir Ben Arzi. That's what he's been saying.
How did you know that?
How would you know? Because he's the Messiah. He's Mashiach. That's what he says. He transmitted this message a while ago, and I take him at his word. He says that there are a lot of Arabs in Israel that are in league with dark forces by way of black magic, and what they've been receiving lately and for a while now is the fact that their time is up and they should not even put up any resistance. They should prepare themselves to leave. They will be evicted the hard way here eventually. They'll want to leave of their own free will. Because once the Messiah is revealed, it will be the ingathering of the Jews and the Gentiles here. I wouldn't call it an expulsion. I would call it an eviction out of fear of their lives, because there will be so much death, and the Messiah will be acting out in the open and declaring what would you call that? By way of his speech, he's executing judgment, and people are disappearing and dying left and right. And in the time of the final redemption, most of the Gentiles will not want to live here, will not want to be here. They'll pick up and leave. It will be a complete exchange of populations. All the Jews will ingather to Israel. All of the Gentiles here will leave. A lot of them will leave on foot to the surrounding countries and the borderlands. And they'll find a way out of here, because if they stay, they'll end up dying. That's what my rabbi has been saying. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds mumbo jumbo, and it sounds fantasy-like. It sounds whatever.
Does he talk to Arabs? Does he talk to Arabs?
Yes. He actually has his lessons translated into Arabic, and a lot of Egyptian media, and even in Jordan, a lot of Egyptian media, and even in Saudi Arabia, they have caught on to his lessons for years, and they have been translating his declarations and messages in Egypt, in Arabic. Yeah, and so they are aware of this rabbi. They know who he is. And my rabbis even himself said that a lot of the Arab Gentiles in the Gentile Arab countries are actually far more aware and in tune to the fact that we are in a process that is divine. They are feeling a serious shift, both politically and nature-wise, and say like the forces of nature. They are the Arabs. I'll give them credit, just as I gave credit to the British. But the Arabs, a lot of them, are spiritual. They are spiritually in tune. They are aware of what's happening spiritually, and so I give them credit for that. A lot of Westerners don't have this. I luckily am not a Westerner. I'm a Middle Eastern Jew of Asian descent, both India and Iraq. And I consider myself a spiritual person. I consider myself to be spiritually in tune, and I won't generalize all Westerners, God forbid, because you've got a lot of them that are perceptive and do have spiritual perception, but because of Western culture overall, and the popular culture and the secular culture, it kind of diminished spirituality and spiritual understanding and spiritual perception and sense. That is less there's that's not the case in the East and in the Middle East. People here did not surrender on their spiritual beliefs and on their spiritual senses, and that's why it's another plus to live in the Middle East, in Israel, because that's another thing that despite the fact of the conflict that we have with our cousins here, it's still better off than not having living in a country with no spiritual sense, no spiritual anchor, no spiritual grounding or foundation. We've got our European Jews here, the Ashkenazic types, that are against that I wouldn't say against it, but they frown upon it. They look down upon it because they were raised European and they have generations of European culture inculcated into them. But they're coming around as well. You've got religious Ashkenazics that they have spiritual sense. You have them as
this sense that the Messiah is coming, or
yes, exactly. But beyond all that they are aware of the fact that we are in a divine process. They see what's happening, they sense what's happening, And some people are optimistic and looking forward to it. Obviously, certain other people are afraid of it, and they will mock it, and they will attempt to stifle it or get in the way of it, obstruct it, interfere with it. And my rabbi said, you will have zero success. As much as you want to try, go ahead and try. It won't help you any. This is an unstoppable, unconquerable process. To try to interfere with it. Yeah, good luck with that. It's not stopping. It's only going forward. That's what my rabbi has been transmitting and saying.
So, what is his attitude towards Arabs? I mean,
I'm not stealing your home, baby. I'm not stealing your home. There's going to be an exchange of populations, okay? When it finally arrives, there won't be any arguing anymore. There won't be conflicts anymore. There won't be religious strife anymore. And I'm sorry, you will find yourself outside of Israel in an Arab country that's more suitable for you, more suitable to you. That's how it's going to be.
Which is, she's actually not. She's not in Israel. She's not a Palestinian, but she's actually Lebanese.
Oh, really? And Lebanese living in Israel?
No, just a Lebanese living in Lebanon. I think she's got a property that she thinks.
She's better off. She's in a good place for her because she won't be a sort of like traumatized, and there will be a lot of trauma. I mean, she's better off being in Lebanon and bitching and moaning about Palestine-Israel conflict, and not having to worry about having to get evicted out of here by the hand of God. And I sound fanatical, and I don't care, but I'm just I'm repeating my rabbi's messages. It's not, in my opinion, it's not fanatical. It's just stating what's going to happen in a very short amount of time. Hopefully, it won't take too long. But I mean, it's tit for tat. I mean, the Jews living outside of Israel in the diaspora, in Europe and in America and wherever they're found, they are going to be traumatized. They are also stubborn about. I mean, for them, it's unfathomable. For them, it's just as unfathomable for them as it is for the Arabs living in Israel that there will be a complete and total exchange of the population. This will be guided by the hand of God, by the Messiah. And it's called the ingathering of the exiles, the full ingathering of the exiles. That's why a lot of Gentiles fear this process. That's why a lot of Gentiles mock this process and don't believe in it. They want to choose to believe in the Christian retelling and reinterpretation, or the Muslim retelling and reinterpretation, because that better suits
What is
them.
the Muslim reinterpretation as you understand it?
That basically, just as the Christians believe, that the Jews will have their Messiah prior to the arrival of the Mahdi, and the Jewish Messiah is actually called the Dajjal, the devil. All right, the Jewish Messiah is similar to the Christian retake on the Jewish Messiah, being the Antichrist. For the Muslims, they call him the Dajjal, the devil. All right, and according to what I recall from Muslim teachings on the end times and on the war of Juj and Majuj, Gog and Magog, is that the Jews will enjoy the arrival of their Messiah for a certain period of time. It's a retelling of the Christian eschatology on the end times in a Muslim version. But, the Antichrist or the Dajjal will sit on the throne in Jerusalem of the third temple, and there will be a long period of tribulations, and the Christians and Muslims will have to endure a period of tribulations while the Jewish Messiah does his work. But, of course, he's the Antichrist, and the Dajjal, he's the devil. And so they'll have to endure this. They'll have to suck it up and endure a certain period whereby the Jewish Messiah has reign. And then once he's overthrown, then Jesus comes back. And this is also according to the Muslim take on it. Jesus comes back as the true Jewish Messiah to overthrow the fake Antichrist Dajjal, and then also the Shia will get their Mahdi, and the Sunnis will get their version of their Muslim Messiah, their Mahdi. There's there's a schism there between the Shia and the Sunni on who the Mahdi is. And so, as far as I recall, that's whereby the Jews will have a preliminary period that must be fulfilled in order for the Jesus to come back, or in order for the Mahdi to make his appearance. All right, so it's the Muslims did a reinterpretation or a re-edit of the Revelations and of the Jesus story, employing the Jesus story. All right,
It sounds complicated.
It is complicated, but God help them. Let them do and believe in what they believe. I can't change their opinions. That's their religion. All right, so when the Jewish Messiah is revealed soon, they will know that basically, according to their scripture, according to what's written in the New Testament and the Quran, they will have to endure and suck it up and have to suffer the fact that the Jewish Messiah will be is sort of like crowned and put on the throne and basically rule. And they perceive it as a negative thing, but a sort of like it's mandated. It's a process that must be endured. It must be fulfilled in order for their true Messiah to show up to overthrow the fake Jewish Messiah, or the Dajjal, or the Antichrist. It's basically, it's all born out of the propaganda of the first century, whereby the Romans and their Jewish conspirators, according to Atwell's thesis, the royals in the Jewish court, the Jewish aristocrats that were in league and conspiring with the Roman occupiers of Israel, of Judea, rewrote the Torah in the form of the New Testament, as the Muslims call it. The what's the name they give it?
Injil.
The Injil. All right, so the Muslims, I think, have a harder time swallowing the fact that is one whole ruse in itself. They say it's falsified, and the Injil is not necessarily, it's corrupted, right? But they don't realize, if they understood the Joseph Atwell take on it, it's not just corrupt. It is war propaganda. It is horse shit. It is bunk. It is a government conspiracy of the worst order, a false scripture, false text, false testament, written as a means, as a sort of like a mockery, and a sort of like a stencil retake of what the Christians call the Old Testament, of what the Muslims call the Taurat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got issues here. We've got major issues. The Muslims, the pride of the Muslims is deeply wounded, even by the Caesar's Messiah thesis. Their take on the Messiah and times and the Messianic revelations and the prophecies, it will be a horrible rub on Islam and on the Muslims to finally swallow the Caesar's Messiah thesis, or the take of all the mythicists, if not mythicists. I would call Atwell a mythicist. He's not. He's unique in his scholarship. But we call it Roman provenance theory, realizing where the Injil has its origins and how and why it was written, and how and why Jesus was a construction, a sort of like a really insidious and nefarious and pernicious construct during the first century, when the Jews were looking forward to conquering, a savior, a military messiah to fight the Roman occupation and to free the Jews living in Judea and give them a sovereignty over their land, to free them of the Roman occupiers. If she wants to talk about an occupation, there's an occupation. If you want to talk about an occupation, the Injil, the product of the Romans and the Jewish pagan conspirators that conspired with Rome for the money, for the power. There's your true occupation, a 2,000-year-old occupation of a false religion and a false god. You call your Injil corrupt. I call it total horse shit that was manufactured by the state in order to disenfranchise and to disinherit the Jewish people, the Jews of their land. We are the real. We have the real grievance here. We have the 2,000-year-old gripe of having our land stolen by Roman occupiers who invented a false god that you people still revere as a prophet. You understand? We can find some middle ground with Islam because they don't bow down to Jesus as a god, but they still revere him as a prophet, as a, what do you call him? As like a top, like one of the top prophets. There's a name for that. A Razul.
Okay.
A Razul. Okay. Razul Shmazul. Zul. All right. Jesus is horseshit, and the Muslims take offense at me saying that, but he's horseshit. He's an invention. It's total crap. It's total state propaganda. All right. And the Muslims, when they'll have to swallow their pride about that as well. All right. So their take on Mahdi and Antichrist goes flying out the window with the rest of that horse shit. All right. When the truth is exposed. That's that. I'm sorry to put it in such blatant terms, Claire, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not invested in the narrative anyway because
All right.
these are predictions. So my view is that the error can be corrected if only mainstream media would do the right thing, which is.
I don't want to evict you from Lebanon. All right, you can stay in Lebanon, no problem. All right, yeah.
I think that they're all a terrible misunderstanding. And anyway, she's actually from Michigan. That woman is from. Well, she's an American, but anyway.
All right. Yeah. Well, I forgot the name of that big city in Michigan where a lot of Arabs have taken over there. Not just Detroit. There's another one. It starts with an A. I have friends there that told me about that place. Not Akron. No, I forgot. Give me a second. The quick Google. Map search here. It'll come to me real quick. I mean, she's complaining. You've got more than a third of the world, if not half of the world, and you're still complaining about Israel. Give me a fucking break already. How greedy do you want to be? Come on. This little slither of land that's the only Jewish homeland for the Jewish people, and you've got more than half of the world, and you're still bitching. All right. Ann Arbor, not Ann Arbor. There's another word, another name outside of Detroit. Yeah, there's Lansing, Bay City. There's another. A lot of Michigan. You find a lot of the Arabs have coalesced over there. Have gotten gathered into Michigan. Anyway, that's about right. Ann Arbor, I think it is, just outside of Detroit. There's a large Arab population in Michigan, but means nothing as far as what her complaints are towards me as an Israeli Jew that's firm on my position that this land is the land of the Jewish people. This is our homeland. This is our birthright, and you can bitch and moan as much as you like. It won't help you. All right. That's about that. I mean, I'm putting it into very sort of like simplistic terms. I'm not thinking on a high level of a sort of like let's say persuasion here. I'm very. This is when we talk about this kind of subject matter, I kind of get very guttural. I kind of get very I'd say like vulgar. I get emotional. I'm not all there. It's because it gets the fire going. You know what I'm saying, Claire?
Yeah, I know. You're a passionate guy.
I'm passionate about it, so I'm not that collected and focused when it comes to expressing myself on this kind of subject matter. Because it's It's sort of like it's like real guttural, you know. But yeah, I mean, what will be will be. We'll soon find out. You know, people are going to stick to their sides and obviously, be in their camps, and God will sort it out. I believe in the Creator. I believe in God, the Creator, and I believe in the Jewish take on the end times, which is the arrival of the Jewish Messiah that will put everything, set everything straight and put everything right. And then all of this Dearborn. That's the name. Starts with a D, not an A. Dearborn. Dearborn. Thank you very much. That's where they are. All right. So yeah, good luck to you over there. Keep America. You can keep all of it. All right. Send us your Jews, and you've got all of America to yourself, as well as Europe. Take them as well. All right. We just want Israel. Isn't that a good deal? You get all of Europe, you get all of America, you get the whole of the world. Just give us Israel. Are you willing to do that and give up your gripes and grudges and grievances about Palestine? Despite, no matter what you answer, yes or no, it's kind of meaningless. It's just sort of like a rhetorical question, because it will happen whether you like it or not. That's my take on it. You know, so. What is this? People actually welcomed you, people, when you rolled in, but then you stayed to begin with the locals, and now you wonder why. All right. Well, the thing is, the occupation of southern Lebanon wasn't necessarily a party for us. All right, just as the occupation of the Gaza Strip wasn't a party. While I was living here, and when I moved back here, I was totally against Israel's military occupation of southern Lebanon, and even of Israel's military occupation of the Gaza Strip, because those are too heavily, densely populated with hostile Arabs. So the move to a one-sided withdrawal out of the Gaza Strip, I was in support of. Having to fight them in the way that we're fighting them now is preferable to having to be there as the police force, as occupiers living in the Strip. It was untenable, and it was needless. It was senseless. If they want to make war against us, we'll keep them as an enclave, like an open air prison, and we'll bomb the shit out of them. If that's the way they choose to do business with us, that's the way we'll do business with them. And if southern Lebanon, where the Hezbollah has created its fortifications, wants to go to war against us in that fashion, we're not going to be. We learned that having a quagmire occupation is counterproductive, and it's not the best way to go about conducting warfare. We'll have open kinetic warfare where we will fuck you up beyond all recognition and keep you quiet for a good 10, 20 years until you build enough confidence to fight us again. But in this case, very soon, you will have no say in the matter. Anyone that comes against us in this time period where we have the Messiah in Israel, and Israel is shielded, you will soon learn the consequences of coming against us during the time of Messianic revelation. All of our enemies will be put to the sword by the hand of God and by the Messiah. So I highly recommend you tell all your friends to stand down, and if they intend to go to war against us, be warned. You will all die. All right? So that's about that, you know. That's a fair warning to you people, all right? Where there is no a plan to occupy southern Lebanon. There is no plan to occupy Gaza, okay, or take over Gaza militarily, or take over southern Lebanon militarily. But if you want to have open kinetic warfare with us, rounds of exchanges, we've made sure to have the proper response for you, all right? But in this case, it's not going to be our IDF response, Israeli Defense Forces response. We are in a stage whereby God is getting involved directly. And if you choose to go to war against us directly, you will learn the consequences of doing that. And I'm guaranteeing that. It's not a boast. I'm making a declaration. It's not a boastful statement. It's a warning. And there's a word for it. A statement. At your, what is it, Claire? At your own peril. Something like pursue this matter at your own peril, or
Yes,
something like that.
Yeah.
What is it? Say it. Say it. What's the statement?
What you said sounded perfectly fine to me. I can't think of a better way.
Yeah, I mean, go about it at your own risk. Go about it at your own risk, at your own peril. You have been fairly warned. All right. No, we're not preemptively. We're not planning to preemptively invade southern Lebanon. Absolutely not. Especially with this kind of weak government that we have now. Nobody wants to preemptively attack. Nobody wants to instigate a war that is going to affect the entire country. Our government is not strong. It's a weak government. And our military is not about to preemptively attack and invade Lebanon when we have a weak political establishment. Absolutely not. They won't put us through this. I mean, despite the fact that we're ready for Lebanon and the Hezbollah in this time around, this would be another big round of exchanges, But I mean, that's probably just a misdirection in the media. It's not, in my opinion, written in stone. We're not going to preemptively invade southern Lebanon. Absolutely not. And I served in the north, in the Golan, on the Lebanese border, in the mountains over there, in the Lebanese and Syrian border. It's called the Hermon. And these kinds of things are pre-planned, and there is a lot of planning that goes into this kind of war strategies and all that. But in my opinion, I'm speculating, but in my opinion, it's highly doubtful that we're preemptively planning to invade southern Lebanon right now. I mean, it's only if Iran instigates something. If Iran gives the order, we're ready to take on Hezbollah in the north of Israel. We're keeping our eyes peeled on Iran. We've got the finger on the pulse of Iran, and if from the head of the snake, from their head, from Iran, if they give the orders, it's going to be a multi-pronged attack. It's going to be Hezbollah attacking us from the north. It's going to be Hamas and Islamic Jihad attacking us from Gaza in the south. And they've had a long-term plan of having the Arab Israelis do an insurgency along with the Palestinians in their Palestinian towns in Judea and Samaria. They've stored and stockpiled a lot of weapons. Our intelligence services are aware of this. They know where the weapons are. They haven't gone and confiscated all of them, but they are aware that there are hundreds of thousands of weapons that have been smuggled into the Arab towns, both in Israel, the Arab Israeli towns, and also into the Palestinian towns. We're very well aware of what they've been planning. Their insurgency plans. They want a multi-pronged attack to overwhelm us, and we're prepared. We're very prepared for this contingency. And we've got the weapons to deal with this kind of warfare that's being planned against us. So it's not going to be preemptive. It's definitely not. It's not preemptive, but we are keeping tabs on them. And if they push the button and instigate something, we're going to fuck them up. We're going to fuck you up really bad. So, watch yourselves. Don't do anything stupid. If you instigate this, we'll fuck you up. Anyway, Claire, I'm tired. I gotta take a leak also. So I enjoyed talking. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.